all-in number?
Yes.
This is not an all, just so, not that big of a difference.
Well, it's in the minutes that way. Right
From the
here it
get-go.
says- From the get-go, right. And it indicates that it was from the beginning. And then from there on, it's changed.
You ready?
Yep, 824. 21.
This is for, all
That's our copy.
right, thanks.
You ready? You guys ready? I'd like to call this meeting to order, the Board of Supervisors meeting for October the 25th, 2022. Please rise and pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we had an executive session. In that executive session, we talked about some personnel issues and also some legal issues. Tony, I want to turn it over to you.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, thank you. I just want to make an announcement that, first of all, we've tried to make strides for the last 2 weeks with our IT provider, Hinton Associates. Spent days and hours working on the streaming to try and see if we could make it work better and smoother, and thought that we had some pretty good strides. We did have 2 issues. So the first issue came up Friday, is that our internet speed is fluctuating, and I believe that's what's causing the streaming to cut out. Now tonight, though, unfortunately, we have encountered a different issue that the YouTube is not permitting us to get in, so, and we have tried, we have not been able to correct that. So we continue to work on this, and we thought we had it, and then the internet issue came up Friday, and then unfortunately, this has never happened to us before. So the meeting is being recorded, and it will be uploaded to YouTube tomorrow for the public to view.
Okay. We're going to move on now to public comment. Julie Dibble, I believe the name.
Thank you. I'm here to pray with and for you. And I just want to read from Philippians 4. Paul, who wrote most of the New Testament, had every kind of opposition you can imagine. He was in jail. He was, people tried to murder him, shipwrecked. And here are his words that can really speak to the season that we're in with inflation and all of the IT issues that we too had at the church. So I'm not sure what's going on in this area. Philippians 4:12 says, I know what it is to be in need, and I know what it is to have plenty. I have learned the secret of being content in any and every situation, whether well-fed or hungry, whether living in plenty or in want. I can do all this through him who gives me strength. Let's pray. Lord on high, our Father in heaven, thank you for this day. Thank you for moving forward with such IT problems, both at the church and here in this building, and perhaps elsewhere in the community, Lord. You know all things. We pray for your protection of further IT. We pray for your physical and spiritual protection of the first responders in this community who work tirelessly against a lot of opposition that we cannot even see. And in the community, we pray for those who are in need, Lord. The rising costs of food, the rising costs of housing. I know there's people that I'm ministering to that cannot afford an apartment. So we pray to you because you provide all things. And we thank you for this time that everybody here can gather. We pray for you to be with them as they speak, as they listen, and as they learn. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Thank you. Next on public comment, Mark Schaefer, I believe it is. Please state your name and address.
Thank you and good evening. My name is Mark Schaefer. I'm the Environmental Health and Safety and Facilities Manager at Amphenol FCI. We reside at 825 Old Trail Road. I'm here this evening to discuss the recent serious auto accidents that have occurred on Old Trail Road within the last 3 months, 2 of which have involved Amphenol employees who were struck from behind while waiting to turn left into our driveway from the northbound lane. One occurred on June 15th and the other occurred on October 13th. Sadly, on October 4th, there was also a fatality involving 2 vehicles just 100 yards north of our entrance. Amphenol has operated at this facility on Old Trail Road since 1985. At its peak, we have had as many as 1,000 actively working on that site. Currently, we have about half that number, but we operate 3 shifts, 7 days per week, and many departments. We even operate on holidays and in inclement weather, and if necessary, to get our parts out to our valued customers. We continued operating through the pandemic as a critical business, making semiconductors and critical parts for communications and some medical equipment. This presented its own risk to human health and safety of our employees, so it should come as no surprise that our employees feel concerned for their safety just safely getting to work in one piece, especially in light of recent events. A few facts we know about the roadway as of today. The speed limit is 35 miles an hour, both northbound and southbound, in front of the Amphenol entrance. This means that if cars heading toward each other at actually doing the rate of speed that is posted there, the resulting head-on collision would be 70 miles an hour. There are several private driveways and several businesses that have entrances onto the roadway within 500 feet of our facility. I'm sure these residents and businesses would also agree with my concerns I'm sharing with you today. There is a T intersection with entering and exiting traffic just south of our driveway, which is Red Mill Road. Cross traffic poses a different set of risks to the equation, especially when you have private residences and businesses also entering and exiting all in close proximity to one another. Amphenol has many deliveries of large, slower commercial vehicles entering and exiting our driveway at all hours of the day and night. This is also risky when drivers are not prepared or are exceeding the safe speed limit coming from around blind turns. Of additional concern, it is the planned construction of a several multi-unit housing structure on the east side of Old Trail Road just across the creek. This will only increase traffic on Old Trail Road, exacerbating the aforementioned issues. As Amphenol's safety officer, it's my responsibility to ensure the safety of all of our employees, visitors, and contractors while they're on our property. This roadway, Old Trail Road, is obviously not Amphenol property, which is why I need your help. I am not a roadway engineer, nor a traffic designer. I am a concerned proprietor that operates a facility within Newberry Township, and I'm responsible for my employees' safety. I'm also concerned for my own safety since I travel this road at least twice a day during the week. I don't know what the solution is, but I do know there are few controls in place on this stretch of road that force people to slow down and to pay attention to their driving habits. Perhaps the answer lies in several controls in use together: reduced speed limits, rumble strips, speed humps, flashing yellow warning lights, left turn lanes into our facility, warning signs, speed enforcement activities. Whatever the solution, I know that you will take this information and make the best informed decision you can for the safety of Amphenol employees and for everyone traveling this roadway. Thank you.
Bill, can we take a look at that?
Yep, we'll be looking at it here shortly with the Hoffman project that's coming in as well.
Okay.
That area, so.
Was there a traffic study done in that intersection for the Red Mill project?
There was, and there are some improvements proposed on Red Mill. There's a right-hand turn lane that's going to be going in. But there's also this Hoffman property that's coming in here shortly, and there's another traffic study that's going to be submitted for that. So there may be, an opportunity for improvements that are associated with that project.
That's the one of this joint.
That's the townhomes that they've come in and talked to us about.
Yeah, off of Vinar. Okay.
So when will we hear about this? Our next meeting, will you know anything?
My understanding is we were supposed to see the traffic study for that project actually this week. So, I mean,
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Jessica Nault, I believe it is. Sorry if I messed that up.
Diane had actually invited me to this meeting to share with you some benefits with having West Shore Rec again in the township. I have been a member of the West Shore Rec since I lived up in New Cumberland. And when I moved down here to Newberry Township, it was in the middle of a class, so I was still enrolled under the benefits of the resident rate up there. And the next class I had to enroll in, I had to pay our fees down here because there was no, we weren't a part of the West Shore down here. So I had a couple of things to just benefit it and share with you why I feel as a resident we should have it here again. The cost is one thing. We do save money being a member down here. Fairview and Goldsboro are currently enrolled, so why aren't we? I've had people in my neighborhood over in Juniper Drive come to me and say, I want to enroll my son or my daughter in a program, and there's not a whole lot down here to enroll them. There's plenty of exercise classes, youth camps, trips for any age group, swimming. There's classes on how to make things. This is actually my most recent catalog that I got. They've got movies and activities, seminars, how to do things. There's different things that would benefit the township residents if you guys can consider applying funds towards joining the West Shore Rec again.
Thanks.
You're
Thank you.
welcome.
Connie? Connie Flasher?
I noticed on the agenda you have the budget listed. Are you not having another budget meeting prior to your voting of it for advertising?
Mr. Chairman, I can provide some insight there. Tonight, the objective is to approve the proposed budget to be advertised and then to make it available to the public to anytime they want to come in and they don't get a copy, they can read it. And it'll be advertised twice before it would be approved on December 13th meeting. So December 13th, they would be the meeting, it'll be on the agenda for final approval.
So the comments that we have tonight, if anybody has any other than myself, which I think there are, you want to go over all of those item by item in the meeting tonight, since you're not going to have another workshop meeting?
I think you can address that to the chairman.
Okay. I mean, because I've got quite a few items. And the other thing is, do you all have a copy of this? It's the state law, which says that a township shall not prepare and advertise notice of a proposed budget when it's knowingly inaccurate. It further states that the total appropriation shall not exceed the revenues estimated as available for the fiscal year. This budget is drastically in the negative and the deficit compared to the expenses that we're going to be doing. So according to the second-class township code, there are some issues with this budget going forward, and approving it tonight and then not having another meeting and allowing you to go over item by item. I probably have 20 items myself, and I think this budget is just totally out of line with the amount of items on here. So we're going to go into a major deficit with the budget for the beginning of the year, and then we're going to add another $4 to $8 million for a building. That's absurd. Now, maybe you're not going to raise taxes for next year because you're going to cash in your Janie and all of that kind of thing, but come next year, we're all going to get hit with taxes. No doubt about it. You can't keep going with deficit budgets and building buildings and not have some source of revenue to cover that. So I don't know if you want me to go through all the budget items when you get down to the budget, if you want me to do it now, or how you want me to do it. But I have some major concerns about a lot of these budget items.
Were you available for the workshop?
Yes.
Were you here?
No, I watched it online. And I made my comments from that.
Opportunity to
Well, I
bring
hadn't
all
had
this
to, I
up.
hadn't had it to look at it at that point. I mean, I hadn't seen it before. So I didn't get a copy of it until after that meeting because you couldn't have it before that. So I went through it all after that meeting.
I do appreciate you looking through it. I'm not saying I don't appreciate that, but that would have been probably a
No, a workshop
your
meeting is a
input- your
good
input
time. A workshop
then would've
meeting is a
been
good time.
real
I know
productive.
you have 20 days after it's advertised to approve it. I know you're trying to get it done before December 31st because that's the law. But you also have enough time to have one more workshop meeting where you can discuss some of these items. There are a lot of items on here that are just extremely overboard, I think, in a municipality this size. And I think that there should be some provisions for the residents to see this and to hear what's going to happen. Because like I said, I know you're not going to raise, you're saying that you're not raising the taxes for next year, but the following year is going to hit us all very, very hard.
Tony or Dave, do you guys remember, I thought one year we had November meeting for taxes.
I mean, if you guys want to have a workshop in November, I'm
Did we
okay
not
with
do,
doing
did we
that.
not do that at one time? I thought we did.
I don't know.
I don't
that
remember
we've
either.
had them. I mean, I'm okay if you guys want to have a workshop.
Even if
meeting
you
in
have it the first
November,
week
I
of
can't-
November, you can advertise it after that and still be able to adopt it
I
within
can't.
20 days.
So,
We have
The-
a workshop meeting already tentatively on this.
No.
No, there's no
None
workshop.
listed.
There's nothing that says it can't be discussed in an open meeting, which is tonight, and we have a November open meeting before December 13th, and public comments are permitted in December 13th meeting. I'm not arguing against a workshop. It's just that there are opportunities for the public to comment on this budget as it stands. We have a meeting tonight.
Well, you're advertising a proposed budget that is definitely inaccurate. That goes against what this says, what the state law says. When you knowingly are passing a budget with a big deficit the way this is,
It's not being passed, ma'am.
or proposed, you're advertising a proposed budget is what it says.
And I'm going to just defer to the solicitor on the legality of what we're doing.
This is giving the public the opportunity to review the budget. This is not a passed budget, it's a proposed budget. The changes can still be made up to and including the time that it's implemented. So I'm not certain where you're coming from on it, but I have the code right here. I have a bigger book.
The proposed budget, when it's knowingly inaccurate.
Again, you're
It's
using.
not balanced.
You're applying a term here that it's a proposed budget that they're still working through. So they can't knowingly put a budget in place if it's proposed. It's not a final budget.
Well, and there's also provisions that if you go 10% over the aggregate, or was it 5% over one line item,
And I understand what you're saying, but it's not passed, it's proposed. We're doing that so
Right.
that it can get on the agenda and so that it can be put out to public for you to give public comment back. So that's the purpose of this.
okay, so we give public comment, then are the supervisors going to look at that and take that into consideration, or that's done, it's already been advertised, and we're going to go ahead
I
and
can't
do
speak
it?
for what the supervisors are going to do or not do.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully, they do take into account public comment. That's the way the system works, but that's why you're being given the opportunity for public comment on this.
Well, when there's one department that's 60% of our budget, and they're the ones that need the building, and all of the costs that are associated with that building, this budget is absolutely ridiculous.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Did you go over to the police department and check out their,
Facilities? No, I've talked to people that are there, and I know several of the officers, and I understand what they're up against. I just believe that they don't need a brand-new $8 million building. There can be things done over there to accommodate them. And there are things in the budget that are not even related to the new building, that are just cost prohibitive. I mean, for instance, 2 dogs. Okay, we used what? 1 dog for once in a month, and we have 2 dogs. So we pay 2 officers for 2 dogs. They get to take the vehicles home. It's their vehicle 24 hours a day. All right, and when there's an incident where you need a dog, you're bringing in the county who has a dog, the state who has a dog, any other municipality. So why do we have 2 dogs and 2 handlers and 2 cars equipped for a dog? I mean, that's just one of the items.
no, I'm not trying to get smart with you.
Yeah.
I'm just asking questions.
Right.
Do you want to defund the dogs?
No, and I don't want to defund the police either. But I'm saying that this is just overkill. There are things in here that most municipalities would love to have that they already have. 2 dogs is one of them. I mean, I know of a lot. I've been through a lot of contracts where they've asked for 2 dogs. And when you only use 1 dog in a month, one time, how does that constitute the funding? I mean, how can you say that that's good? You know, what?
What's your solution?
1 dog, 1 handler, 1 vehicle. And how many miles are on the vehicles? I mean, there's 2 of those in the budget, and 1, I believe, was for a dog. So in that, do you have, in that line item, do you have the cost to equip a car? Because you've got to put lights and computers, and in the dog, you've got to put the cage, and you've got the all the other necessary things, the radios, all of that to go in a vehicle. So you're going to do 2 new vehicles with total build-out, so to speak.
There's a lot of donations for the dogs too. A lot of that stuff. There's a lot of donations given for the dogs, and like I mean,
I'm sure there's donation, but enough for 2 dogs,
we can
for 2 handlers?
We can see
I
if
mean,
the
you've
chief-
got 2 handlers that are on payroll,
I mean, I understand what you're
and
saying.
an astronomical contract at that, to handle 2 dogs that they use one time a month. That's just one item. I've got several, but that's one of them.
Why don't you continue, and then we'll know what you're talking about.
Okay, special police forces. When was this advertised as far as the contract goes with York Haven and Goldsboro? I couldn't find anything in the minutes that said what they're paying each and how you derive that information and the motion in the minutes to adopt that contract. And is it yearly or is it? It's an annual contract. Okay. I didn't see anything in the minutes that say when that was passed or how much it was passed for. All it says here is a total of $154,000 between the 2. Okay, if you separate that out, and I think it may have been Tony that told me, Goldsboro is at 74.4 and York Haven's at 79.8. That's hardly paying for the wages, the benefits, the pension, and all of that for 1 officer. Why isn't the contract enough to cover at least 1 officer? And how many hours is our officer down there? That should all be in the contract, of which I said there's no contract, so didn't see the contract. Whether, for whatever reason, it was never a motion that you even approved a contract. So that's a big question. Why aren't they paying their fair share? To me, that looks like awful low numbers when you're considering that 60% of the budget is police, and there's 2 officers down, or 1 officer in each. Maybe there's 2. Maybe they're covering 20, the full shifts. I don't know what they're doing, but that's not very much money. for them
There-
to be sharing the
There
cost.
there are numbers that substantiate those prices. I mean, I think I just saw them at the last.
Steve, you had some kind of numbers.
The
figured out for
numbers that they're
The time
paying
put on there.
are substantiated with the amount of time we spend there.
Can I get a copy of that contract? No, the Goldsboro and York Cape, well, yeah, I guess if it's annual, they're coming up for renewal. Okay, what about the one that we have right now? Okay, that'll be a right to know, Tony.
And I think the only thing that's different is just went up a couple.
Huh?
It just went up a little bit for a percentage, I think. What did it go up, 2%?
I think 4.6, I think it was.
4.6?
I think that's.
Well, that's hardly enough to even cover the
It's the
officer.
same contract, I'm just trying to say, it's the same contract as last year, just went up 4.6 this year.
Okay, all right. I'll get a copy of that.
But we can't overcharge them for the amount of time we're spending down there. They're not gonna,
Oh, you can't overcharge them, but you need to charge them what we're paying.
we.
It should be a
the
wash
contract,
in and out.
We are charging them what it costs us to be there. And all that's, the pension, everything's included in that.
Well, then that's what I'm saying. Then we should know that that's what that costs. It's costing an officer if he's only down there 8 hours a day or 8 hours a shift, or we have 2 officers, 4 hours and 4 hours, whatever, so that we know what we're paying for. But they should be holding, it should be a wash in, a wash out.
There's gonna be a presentation on where some of the money's coming from.
Diddy's presentation's team.
I mean about the
Yeah,
dogs
go to
and
them,
team and where that money.
Well, and then the team
comes from.
brings me to another point. The team is a 501c, correct?
I'm going to do a presentation.
Okay,
in a little bit,
all right.
but
Well, then I'll wait till that's over before I make my comments about that.
if I can, I might be able to answer some
Okay.
of your questions relative to the time. So we, about a year and a half ago, we switched records management systems. Most of the agencies in the county are using this system. And one of the tools that system allows us to do is to track our officers' time, and we actually track it specifically to municipalities.
Right.
So we are literally able to dial it down to how many minutes we are on calls, and that's all officers in any of our municipalities. And that's very important to us because, as you
Right.
bring up, we want to make sure we're not overcharging them or undercharging them, right?
undercharging, right.
So we did look at those numbers, and you know, you need to take that, and then there's nationally recognized formulas you plug them
And
into.
standards, yes, and I understand that.
Times X amount of dollars an hour. It's not just the salary, right? It's fuel maintenance
benefits
and things like that.
and the car,
100%. So we look at that, and we look at that as administrative, as administratively as we can, and then we report that to the board, and that's how we come up with that number. So we do quantify our time. That's
Okay.
where I'm getting at, and many people will say, like, well, you know, do you put one officer in York Haven just 24/7? Well, no, we don't do that, right?
Is it by call?
We may have one officer working in the township
Who
at
patrols
any
the
given,
area a couple times?
and the boroughs. I mean, I understand, you know, we are an expensive part of the budget, but to think that, you know, we have an officer in each municipality
Right.
just hanging out, it's not true. There are still times in our staffing where you'd be very surprised at how many police officers are on duty, and that's a whole different conversation, really.
Right.
But we
Well, I'm
quantify
very
that time.
familiar with what you're saying. I mean, I have been part of negotiations with other municipalities in police services. Okay, for Carroll, with,
Then you'll understand.
I
when-
understand totally. I'm just saying, the number appears here, but I don't have any basis for it. So are we sure? And you're telling me that, yes, you're doing all of the legwork to make sure that the dollars are there to represent the time, the care of the vehicles and whatever. So I'm just saying, for
Sure.
my edification.
I think it's a
don't
good
know
question.
who
That's why I
else.
wanted to answer it. I mean,
Right.
we don't just throw out a number.
Right.
We look at it from a very administrative, professional way and make sure that we're covering our costs.
Right.
And being
As long
able
as
to.
we're not taking, you know, the blunt of it is what I'm
Right,
trying to
and
say.
being able to serve the community we've served for decades.
Exactly.
And also to quantify on that a little bit, I believe it was about 2 years ago that we increased their police protection significantly compared to what we were getting.
Right.
So basically, when we raised it the last time and where we're at now is pretty much what you're paying for a police officer, percentage-wise, the boroughs are paying the same.
That's all I want to know. I mean, and I'd like to see it, but that's what I want to know.
It was a major adjustment, like 2 years ago and last year. So,
Right.
actually, Lewisberry Borough dropped out because we
I do
raised
remember
the
reading that,
amount.
yes. Okay. Well, that's where I am on that. The weapons was another thing. If we, the weapons, I understand there's a 12-year warranty. We're only in the 5th year, so we've got 7 to go. Why can't I guess the problem is the sights need to be set because the sights are not working or whatever. But why can't they get by with just doing the sights and whatever is wrong? If there's one that's extremely bad, then you get rid of one. But you don't need a whole new set of weapons. And the same with the ammo. Last year you got no ammo whatsoever. And then this year you're put back in again. So if you have ammo left over, why can't that budget number be reduced some?
He'll explain the guns. I was gonna try to explain it, but I don't have the numbers and details he does, but
I'm not certain where you got a 12-year warranty on it, because I never testified or mentioned a 12-year warranty on any type of guns. I said that the guns, we wanted to get new guns because of the sights. The sights are reflective in nature. Over time, those sights degrade.
Right.
There was no 12-year warranty whatsoever. In fact,
No, I didn't
as
say
far
you
as
said it.
but
I
you
heard
said
that,
there's a
yeah.
12-year warranty.
Well, that's
You
what I
just
heard,
said
yes.
that. Okay.
Well, Steve, can you change the sites or not?
Well, you can
That's what
change
I'm
the
saying.
sites, but the cost of changing the sites is going to far exceed the $150 that we would pay for each gun to get a new gun. So why change the sights on a gun and exceed the amount that you would pay to purchase a new gun? That's not fiscally
just
responsible.
explain what you're paying for a gun and what you're getting in return for your gun
I can
you're
speak
turning in.
what I remember. I don't have the stats in front of me.
425.
We were going to spend approximately $150 per gun.
Right. It was $350 from Atlantic Tactical was going to give back to us, according to the meeting.
Correct.
And the new ones were going to be a $425 charge.
Something like that. It was
That
about
was in the meeting.
$150 per gun,
Well, how many?
times
Yeah.
18, which should come out to $4,000 or just shy of $4,000. What was
Right.
the other
And that's
question?
budgeted. The ammunition,
Ammunition. Do I have a price for? I did not. But I'm just saying, like, in order to purchase the sites and then pay somebody to put the sites on it, you're going to talk to most likely be at $150, if not more than $150 per gun.
well, don't you think we should be able to say, okay, I got the price for the sites, and here's what it's going to cost. Here's what a new gun's going to cost. Now, you make up your mind which way you want to go. There's not that flexibility here. It's just new guns, that's it.
Well, ma'am, I give a proposed budget, okay? They have the ability to say whether it goes in or doesn't. My job
That's
is to
true.
try to run a police department and give the officers the best tools that I possibly can.
Right. No, this
If-
isn't directed at you.
If
This
a
is-
resident doesn't like
this is
something
their
I
job.
put
Right.
in a proposed budget, that's on you to
Right.
discuss that with them. Not on me to go out and get different prices. I'm putting a proposal of what I think is best for the police department
Right.
and their officers.
No, it's
to
up to
protect
them.
the community, okay?
Absolutely.
And what was your other question that you wanted to be to refer on?
What was it?
Oh, the
ammo.
ammunition, most certainly was in the budget last year. And
Yes,
it was
but
the same.
there wasn't anything bought last year.
That's not correct.
Well,
I buy ammunition every year, ma'am.
let's see.
Steve, you bought it ahead of time, right? And
No, negative. So
Okay,
what had happened in
4,500. Yep.
2020 with the pandemic, we couldn't get ammunition,
3,500.
so we prepaid for it. We just got our 2020 and our 2021 ammo just delivered 2 months ago, but it was purchased and paid for in 2020 and 2021. In
So
fact,
we still need
and-
more for 2022.
Absolutely, ma'am.
Okay.
Do we wanna-
Would you prefer an officer go out there and shoot the minimal amount of bullets on the range?
Absolutely not.
And then when it comes to a traumatic situation, and that a round misses the target and hits a bystander,
right.
the first thing that any civil attorney will say was, well, isn't it true that industry standard for police officers to qualify 2 or 3 times a year? And in fact, your department did that for the last 10 years. However, you decided that you didn't want to buy ammunition,
Right.
so therefore you didn't qualify that many times. So the township should just write a big check and add a couple zeros.
Steve,
So-
a
Sure.
question, how many rounds do you get for the 4,500? What was number?
I think that, wasn't it 3,500?
I don't know, what is?
Well, you have
It's-
to,
it's
you have to buy practice
4,500?
ammunition, and you have to buy.
4,500, yeah.
And you have to buy duty ammunition. So you have two different types of bullets, plus you have beanbag rounds, plus you have taser cartridges. It all depends on what we need at that particular time. Nothing is cheap. So
So this-
if a
when you
case
say ammo, this is
ammunition,
not just bullets.
sometimes it is just bullets if that's all we need. But case in point, we qualified one time this year, where we typically qualified two times. And the reason why we qualified one time is because we weren't able to get our ammunition order in time to qualify in the spring. We didn't have enough bullets for the officers to qualify in the spring, so therefore we had to push it to qualify in the fall, where we usually qualify spring and fall, when it qualified in the fall. So we have to do what the industry standard is. You might be able to buy ammunition in any box store, but ammunition for law enforcement is totally different. It's not produced the same way.
Right.
Because we get it at a state discounted price.
Yeah,
So therefore, our 2020 and 2021 ammo did not come in until now. We did pay for it. So we are stocked up to be able to qualify for 2 times a year. However, if a pandemic strikes again and we run out of our surplus to get us for that secondary thing, it's going to take us back to being able to qualify 1 time a year, and that's a disservice to the police department, the officer, and the residents.
Do you have I don't know, a handle on how many rounds are fired through a weapon a year, just in training?
Well, it all depends if we qualify 2 times or 1 time.
So
And we
say it's
try
2
to, we
times.
try to make up, to get the officer enough training. I would say the officers shoot, on average, 400 rounds to 500 rounds out of their pistol
Per year.
per
If they're
year,
trained.
if not more.
So the only reason I ask that question is, I believe that it's not frivolous spending to upgrade that gun after 7 years if it's costing you $150, if you're getting new sights and you're getting a new weapon, that you know, the weapon's probably gonna shoot for 20 years. But do you wanna take a chance for an officer having a misfire?
Are you sure that Atlantic Tactical is going to give you 150 on those, or are you going to put them out for bid, or
I'm positive
that they're going to give us 150 for every gun?
Negative, ma'am. It's going to cost us
Us
$150.
$150.
They're going to pay us $350 or whatever.
350.
Yes, they're going to pay us that. In fact, Atlantic Tactical will actually give us our new guns without having to pay that money, and then
Wait
once
till the
we,
budget passes.
well, no,
2023.
they wouldn't be ordered until 2023. They're
Okay.
not ordered. I wouldn't frivolously buy something that I wasn't approved by the board. Anyway, the quote is good until January. So if, in fact, yes, they put it out that far. If, in fact, it does happen, what they would do is they would give us the new guns, our officers would qualify with the new guns, and upon qualifying with the new guns, we would trade the other guns
Guns
in.
in.
Most places will not do that. This place does. We've done it in the past, and this is the agreement that we made with them, which is smart, again, for the community, the officers, because you have to qualify with that specific weapon. It's not, you can't just pick up
Oh, I
a
know.
different weapon and
Right.
put it in your holster and say, oh, I'm good because I shot one that was like it. No, you have to qualify with that particular weapon and achieve a passing score.
Do they have shotguns in the car and have to qualify for those as well?
We do have shotguns, but they're less lethal shotguns. They shoot beanbag rounds,
Okay.
which some of
that
that
part
comes,
of- is that
some of
part of the
that comes
ammo
out
too?
of that ammunition as well.
Okay.
And if I have enough ammo to get me through what I need to, then taser cartridges would come out of that as well. So
Okay.
you have 9mm ammo, 223 ammo, or 5.56, whichever is better price because our weapons shoot both.
Right.
You have the potential of taser cartridges and the beanbag rounds. Now, bear in mind, they have to qualify with the shotgun, so they have to shoot so many beanbag rounds to qualify.
Right.
And the state changed their mandating. So prior to 2022, we would have to qualify with our less lethal weapons, meaning taser, shotgun, OC, and ASP baton, or expandable baton, once every 2 years. The state has mandated we have to do it every year. So therefore, if they mandate that we have to do it every year, we need the resources in order to make sure our officers have that training, because if they do not receive that training, they become
Can't carry it.
decertified.
Right, I understand. All right, we had 50,000.
One last thing. You said about the 2 cars that I budgeted one for K-9.
Yeah.
I'd like to know where you got that thing, because I never said that when I was at the budget meeting. I just said that I put in the budget
No, it
for
was
2
for
cars.
2. Yeah, there are 8 patrol and 2 K-9, currently.
Steve, did you figure out which ones it was yet?
I have an idea which ones it is, and neither one is a K-9.
Okay. Let's see.
I just wanted to be clear, because I
What are
never
the-
said that.
Somewhere, or in the minutes, or in the YouTube, it said there's somewhere between 65 and 70,000 miles on the vehicles. Is that all of them that?
I have vehicles that could have 65, 70. I could have vehicles that could have 90,000. I could have a vehicle that has 100,000. It all depends on the vehicle, when it was bought, how hard it was used. Typically, we have vehicles that break down. We replaced 5 water pumps in vehicles, so that is not an easy fix like it was before. In these vehicles, you have to actually yank the whole motor out. Therefore, it's over a week process for each vehicle. When that vehicle's out, that means the other vehicles are driven harder. So, yeah, so I could have vehicles ranging from 20,000 to 100 and some thousand.
Okay, because the minutes just said 65 to 70.
And that's, a police vehicle is a little different than your personal car.
Absolutely.
Because we might have one of 18 people getting in a car, and
Right.
all 18 of them ain't gonna drive the same.
Right. Well, that's true. But they're also, there's a lot of differences between them. Now, to outfit the cars, is that all included in this capital outlay for the
That
125,000? Does it include
125,000 should include,
the lights, the sirens?
Yes, ma'am.
Everything extra.
there will be no extra.
Well, everything else that you have to put on a police package car. You get the basic car from the general purchases, and then you've got to put your lights and all
Correct.
that.
That 125,000.
What's the basic car price?
Well, I don't know what it is right this second. When I
What
was
was it
doing
last
the
time?
budget, it was 36s, 38,
Yeah.
something like
So
that.
it gives you an idea.
Yeah, I knew it was 30, around that. 38, 35 to 40,000.
And
I
we
knew.
tried to reuse our equipment that we stick on the vehicles for at least 2 vehicles in the cycle, the way that we used to do it when we were purchasing 2 vehicles a year. We tried to utilize the lights, the sirens, the control switches, all that stuff for at least 2 vehicles once it's purchased. After that, the stuff starts to degrade and start costing more money to repair it. So we try to get 2 cycles of vehicles out of it.
Aren't
If we
these
can get
different
more,
body
we
styles,
do
too?
more. However, the models of the vehicle have changed.
Yeah.
So therefore, the cages, the seats,
They won't fit.
they will not fit in the new 2022 model Explorer. So what that line item might have said in the past at 95,000, that's why it's increased to 125,000, so that we can,
And that's what I'm
account for
saying.
that.
Does this 125 include all of that outfitting for these vehicles? Yes.
I will tell you this, ma'am. If it goes over 125,000, the rest of the money would come out of a different line item. If I would sacrifice something to get it in that, meaning my minor equipment. If I have an objective every year, what I'd like to buy with that stuff, but it's not set in stone, because you have things that come up every year, and you don't spend that money until you get the necessities taken care of for the officers so they can assist the public.
Right.
Just so you know, Connie, the body style on the Explorer changed
Yes, they did.
20, 21?
I believe,
I think it was
21, I
21.
believe.
21,
so-
yes.
That does hurt a little bit trying to.
It does, because the things don't fit now.
Correct.
Right. I lost my thought on that one. There was another question on that.
And I want to address the K9 thing, if you mind,
Sure.
as well. Yeah, what doesn't reflect on the reports is what the K9s do on a daily basis with their officers. As you're aware, a K9 is a force multiplier, correct? So therefore, if that officer is going to an incident with a K9, let's say a domestic situation or an individual that's just, suspicious in nature, but, the dispatcher's saying that it might have a weapon. That K9 partner is a force multiplier. That K9 partner would act as a secondary officer, right? So those are things you can't document. We can't have the officers document, well, we went to a situation with a man with a weapon, and even though the canine did not get out of the car, he did assist us, because the public would say, how did he assist us?
Right.
Well, his presence, his barking. I will tell you, the general public don't want to mess with a dog.
No.
Excuse my language, I should have rephrased it a different way, but if they know that a dog's on the scene, they're not going to mess with the officer as much as they do with a normal
And I
person,
have
whether it's
nothing
one or
against the
two.
dog.
Okay?
How many times have you used both dogs in a month?
That all depends on define how do you use it.
All right, if you're
Are you
using
talking
them
about
for
responding to a
an
simple?
incident, respond to
Okay,
an-
so
two incidents at the same time would require two dogs?
well, it all depends. Because if the situation is handled to the point where the canine officer can leave, he can go assist the secondary incident. And we don't have two dogs on duty at the same time. They work
That-
opposite shifts.
That's the question. I mean, are they on?
My point is this. The dogs, we can't document everything they do every day.
I know that.
If we documented everything they did every day, there wouldn't be enough pieces of paper for me to give the
Right.
board, and I think the board would be upset with the amount of things that we documented.
Right.
We try to document the highlights. There's things that we do that restrict our dogs. We get calls every day for our dogs. However, the officer that's in charge, Sergeant Martinez, takes that information and determines if it's best interest for the dog and for the township,
Right.
whether they respond or not. He didn't respond yesterday to a call because we don't want to spend taxpayers' money to respond outside the area if it's not necessary.
Sorry. Right.
Same within the area. If one of our officers calls him and they give him the situation and Sergeant Martinez says, you don't really need a dog to smell the car because you can smell the
As soon
marijuana
as the window
outside
opens.
the car, well, I can start bringing the dogs in if you truly want to know everything they do, but it's going to cost the taxpayers more money. But we're trying to be frugal with the taxpayer money
Right.
and not bringing the dogs in with other things, you know?
Mhm.
I think we get asked this question, and I think it's a fair question, but I think it's also important to realize, regardless of how many times, quantity, the dogs are used, what they actually do. We've had incidents where we have taken large amounts of narcotics that are literally killing our residents
Absolutely.
off the street. Last year, K9 Czar located a loaded firearm on York Road that police officers couldn't find. It was associated with a suspected homicide in Cumberland County. That's where our kids play. Without that dog, gun might still be there, loaded.
Right.
So there's a lot of stuff that it's very important that our dogs are there for those activities. We 2 days ago, a gentleman was talking about FCI. We had a crash 2 days ago near FCI. That vehicle's in our impound right now because we believe there's drugs in it pending a search warrant. Without the canine partner, somebody probably would have got
Just
away
behind
with drugs.
that one. Yeah.
You were so there's a lot of things that we can say, well, how many times are they actually used? I can tell you our dogs were used a lot more times than we used our firearms last year, but I still
And
think we should have our
I
firearms.
am not opposed to your dog. I'm just saying,
Right.
two dogs
Sure.
seems overkill. One dog is great, and I would be totally against getting rid of the dogs altogether because I think they're a welcomed asset to any community. And I know there's a lot of communities that would love to have a dog.
I think it's
Connie,
I'll talk
would
to
you
this-
allow him to come up and do his presentation? He's going to talk about the dogs and all
Sure.
they do. Would you
Yeah,
allow him to
I
come
was
up
asked,
and?
all right, let me, I can get off of the public safety and just give you the rest of the highlights that I had in here.
Do you have any more questions for me before I go to the back?
No, because I'll wait till he's done.
Okay.
Um,
Okay. I'll stay here.
huh? My 5 minutes are up.
Yeah, a long time ago.
They were up a long time ago, sorry.
You can't complain about that anymore.
No, I can't. But I have to bring it up, just to nudge. Okay, I got the answer to that. The safety director. Who is the safety director? And is that position, is that police too?
Back to the front.
He
Oh,
just
that's
went and
it.
sat
Okay.
down,
All right, no,
okay?
never mind. Yeah, I'll get it later. Didn't know he was new.
And if you need to know who the assistant is, he's sitting over there.
Okay, well, there we
Those
go.
questions are answered. Those I can.
Well, those, yeah, so I can wait till the rest of the presentation's over.
Thank you.
Braxton, go ahead and do what you need to do so that we can get moving on here.
I am a visual person, so I came prepared tonight.
You can spin that around a little better, they can see it.
I was told that we typically only use that one. Okay, so I will try to make this as quick as possible. I did have the opportunity to present this after last the budget meeting. I think it came up. There were some questions about the team organization, and I was asked to come here tonight and just explain the organization a little bit because I think there were some good questions that came up. So the first thing is to understand how the team organization came into existence, and we have to go back to really the early 1990s. A lot of you will recognize the program DARE that was taught in the schools. Our agency was a part of DARE for long before I started at this agency and up until when I became part of the agency. Well, around that 1990 time, the state stopped funding DARE from a police perspective. The overtime wasn't paid, the program funds weren't paid, the funds just weren't there. So the agencies and the school districts were set with a decision, and that was, do we continue these programs, and if we do, if we feel them beneficial for our community, are you going to fund it? And of course, that was our objective. We believe getting to fifth graders as we do now and interacting with them is extremely beneficial to establish those relationships at a young age. So around this time, and we had a canine program that was long established, and we decided that there was a lot of support in the community for both of these programs simultaneously. And when I say support, I'm specifically saying financial support. There's a lot of partners and private persons in the township, residents, that wanted to support these programs, but they were very specific about what they wanted to support. They would come in and say, we want to support the canine program, we want to support the team program or DARE, or whatever it may be. So we organized the team organization to facilitate this relationship and funding. So what is team and what does it do? We are a federally registered 501c3, and just to clarify, I am here tonight in public comment representing the team organization, not specifically the police department with I wear a lot of hats, but that is my purpose at this point. And one of our objectives with the program is the second bullet there, and it's to lessen the burden on local government. That's one of the objectives to qualify for a 501c3 nonprofit organization. So that's exactly what we do, and we're focused on supporting the functions of the team program, and just, that's an acronym. It stands for teaching, educating, and mentoring. We throw that around a lot, but that is what it stands for. It's a program that was established by the Michigan State Police that we adopted in 2009 here in the township. The canine program and overall community police efforts that we think are very, very important. So functions, what we support, like what does team do, right? We support the canine and the training for the canines. We foot the bill for half of the annual training for both dogs. So that is a burden that is taken away from the township, at least at 50%. The teaching, educating, and mentoring programs that we provide to 2 of the 3 elementary schools. We have a relationship with West Shore School District. Right. Teaching, educating, and mentoring. Thanks. That is, again, once we phased DARE out, we adopted team as a curriculum. The chief and I were actually the first team instructors. We were trained by the Michigan State Police. It is a phenomenal program. DARE focused more on drug education specifically, don't do drugs. Team expands that to some more current issues in our schools like bullying, cyber security, and safety. So we can expand that curriculum, and we have had great success with this. Nothing warms my heart more than to be out in the community and have a high school. I actually just had it this last weekend at a wedding. A kid that's kid. He's an adult now. He's now in college. Came up to me and said, "Are you Officer Diddy? You taught my 5th grade team class at Red Mill." And that's pretty cool because I feel like they trust me, or they'll trust anybody else that wears our uniform. The community outreach program in general, that photo to the right is one of our officers participating in the community outreach program, or activity rather, and doing child ID kits. That's where we provide a card. It's actually a child ID card. We used to call them kits. Has their fingerprint, their photo, some demographic information, and emergency contact information on. We provide that service free at community events throughout the township throughout the year. And that has, we are one of the only agencies around that do that. And in the tragic event that we have a child that goes missing, we retain that demographic information and identification information, as does the parent. So how is TEAM funded? TEAM is funded from donations from businesses and private citizens within the community. I know if the YouTube link was up tonight, we have several of our donors, our regular donors, business owners in the township listening in tonight. So I will publicly thank them. Without their support, our program couldn't occur. And then fundraising events. I have a clip up there about our golf tournament. We did one last year. We did not do one this year. We replaced it with a cornhole tournament, so I'll put a plug in for that. We have a cornhole tournament November 5th coming up. Again, a gracious business owner in the township, Valley Run Farms, offered up their facility free of charge to us in support of our efforts. So we thank them very much. And if you're available that day and you want to come out for a great day, we're going to be raising money for the TEAM program. And so the donations and the private citizen donations in addition to our fundraisers. So here's a snapshot of 2021. These are some approximate figures of donations that came in. And I think it's important that people know, this isn't an organization where there's $100,000 coming in and out. We're a smaller organization, but we took in about $6,100 of donations, and then our fundraiser, and that was almost specifically the golf tournament last year, raised a little over $4,500. Here's some expenses, and I can't even see it over here, but I broke it down for a pie chart. And the blue is what I identify in our records keeping as canine expenses, and then the orangish peach color is TEAM, and then some administrative costs there. Looks like it's about $4,000 for TEAM and a little over $3,000 for K9. Now that does fluctuate year to year. I put this snapshot in there because it was the last full year of figures, so I could, 2022 isn't over yet, so we. All right, so just to describe administrative costs there, that's administrative costs to operate the organization. So if we're buying toner for the printer, if we're buying supplies, antiviral wear for our laptops that keep our team instructors, things like that. That's operational costs that isn't really associated with one or the other. And again, those are some approximate figures from last year. So I'm going to pull the mic out of here and walk over there. The ongoing projects that TEAM supports relative to the K9 program, some of the notable items here. In 2019, we funded the purchase of both of our current K9s, 100%, $24,600. That was a big purchase for us. I think it might have been the biggest purchase that the organization supported. So we did that. Half of the annual training costs for both K9 teams, various equipment. I believe there was a reference to a K9 cage in a car, ma'am, right? Team bought that in 2019. The lettering and the graphics for the K9 car 46, that was $848 in 2021 last year. Team bought that. So, again, I can go on and on. One down there is specialty veterinary care. One of our partners in the community, and it's our second partner actually in the community that did this, provides regular veterinary care for us as a donation. But this year one of our canines suffered wasn't an injury, but a condition to his eyes that required specialty care. There was absolutely some fees associated with that, and team funded that as well. So the taxpayer didn't have to pay for it. So again, we try to pick up as much as we can, and it's all because of our community partners. I mean, there is simply some people in our community and some business owners that are literally calling us and saying, "Why didn't you call and ask for a donation this year?" We have tremendous support from our community for the team program. So moving to teaching, educating, and mentoring program, team specifically. So we put on a 5th grade graduation every year for our 5th grade graduates of the team program. We purchase equipment for the officers to operate, supplies, things like that, and anything, handouts, provide handouts, things like that. And then the community outreach, I'll try to speed it up here a little bit. Community outreach, these are things like National Night Out, team every year for National Night Out, all the stuff at the police tent, the majority of the things at the police tent, that would be the handouts, things like cups and tattoos and things like that. That is being funded by team. And the child ID kits, all the supplies with that, the printers are very expensive. And I think the last thing that we bought as an organization, but I personally went and picked it up, was trick-or-treat candy for our upcoming trick-or-treat events. Because again, that's a community outreach thing, and that's where we can hand a piece of candy to a police officer, the police officers can, and make a connection. And then finally, this is the last slide, but we are very proud of this organization. This is something that a lot of the officers put a tremendous amount of extra time into outside of their employment as a police officer, and they raise funds, they make community connections, and these are some of the things that were big projects of ours over the last couple years. Sergeant Barkley is a project we did back in 2018. You may have seen that National Night Out in some of the schools. Maybe your kids talked about it a little bit. But that's an interactive robot. That was $17,500 approximately for that whole project. And that includes not only the robot itself, but there's a trailer, and we outfitted the trailer and things like that. So that was fully funded by team. Those 2 dogs there, those 2 handsome guys are our current canines. That's Rico and Czar. And in 2019, you all may have been familiar, but tragically, Canine Taser passed away. And when that happened, it was unexpected. He had bone cancer. We had people literally knocking down our doors wanting to give us money. And we said, what are we going to do with this? I mean, what is the future of the canine program? So that was a discussion we had with the sitting board at the time. We offered from the beginning that whatever we do, team's going to fund the purchase of those canines. And if I recall correctly, we had unanimous support from the board. There was an offer to assist us with that money, and we declined it. And we purchased the dogs with money that was, team purchased the dogs and essentially donated them to the township for $24,600. $24,600 to 2 canines. Oh, the field operations unit. So the field operations unit was $3,250. That's a thing you may have seen around the township. We use those for major operations as well as community service, and that is the link to team. It was $3,250, and I think it has, how many miles that thing have on it? 11,000 miles.
Yeah, and Claire did a lot of the internal work for it.
Jane, the van we had before that was an old, what kind of van was that, a work van?
Yeah, it was like a Ford E350.
It kept breaking down and overheating, so we actually sold that and got $8,000 for it. And so that was a pretty good deal for them to get a new vehicle to do their patrol stuff, so.
Yeah.
And so I did some work to it. A friend of mine wrapped it for him for nothing. Walmart chipped in for stuff. And then
Yeah,
like
the
Bosco did a lot of work inside.
The officers did all the fitting out in the inside, including rebuilding bathrooms and everything in it, so.
Yeah.
Yes.
So again, just to wrap up, I appreciate the opportunity to come and present this. There are many people that are very proud of this organization, and we really believe that we lift a large burden, financial burden, off the township for some of these projects that I've mentioned. And we also believe that they are extremely important to our agency, the community relation. I've been a police officer for 14 years, and there's never been a day that community relations is more important than today. So these are ways that we believe we can connect very strongly with our community. And the great thing about it is we have tremendous community support. And again, I'll just put another plug in for them. Without our donors to this, it wouldn't exist. And probably some of these programs wouldn't exist. But we're very proud of that service. So,
Okay.
is there anything else I can answer about it?
Thank you, Braxton.
Apologize.
So basically, the township doesn't support team, I mean, doesn't fund the teams at all? No. Team is all self-sufficient?
Yeah, well, yes, and no. I mean, the supplies, the equipment, et cetera, we don't pay overtime, but the relationship that the organization has with the police department is we will kind of provide the vehicle for that program to thrive. We don't pay the officer's salary out of the organization or anything like that. I mean, that is something that the township has to say, all right, well, if we're going to do this, we're going to do this. And that's the same thing with the K-9 program. I mean, we will continue to support financially the veterinary bills, the dog food. There's a lot of things with that program that if team wasn't in place and we didn't have these fundraisers and donors, we wouldn't be able to do it, and the township would have to make a decision. For example, very common, our police officers, like many of you, may go on a week's vacation, right, to decompress a little bit. They can't they can't provide a working canine dog to a family member to babysit for a week. It's just not, so it requires special kennel care. The township doesn't pay for that. Team pays for that. And
Well, that's good to know, and I think.
yeah. Yeah, for sure.
More about team and about what they do.
Yeah, and that's why we asked Diane, we had a meeting with Diddy the other day, and we asked them to come in and show them everything that we learned ourselves and share it with the public, so.
And I hope during our meeting, I answered some questions that both of you had.
Yeah. I was satisfied with what we looked at.
Okay, very good. I appreciate that. Again, if anybody wants to,
Plus, you didn't mention Dean and Scott. They go around to the schools and.
yeah, those are our two team officers currently. That we actually have three, but the two active right now are Officer Bortner and Officer Tyson. They are assigned to Red Mill Elementary and Newberry Elementary, respectively. And then we have one officer that is trained and ready to step in, and that would be Officer John Taylor. So
Yeah, all three of them are perfect for that job.
thank you,
Yeah.
thank you. So, all right,
I knew Scott for, 20 years now, and
very good.
he's very.
I just want to thank you for all you do with this team and everyone else that's involved. It's definitely over and above the line of duty, and I really appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Supervisor Hart, because I know there's a lot of support out there for this organization, and that is honestly what keeps these guys going. It is. So, thank you for the opportunity.
Thanks, Braxton.
Mr. Chairman, just an announcement that we did pick up streaming.
Oh, good.
So
Braxton,
it is
Braxton,
listed.
you want to do that again? The stream was working.
No, it already was, no, it was streaming while he was talking.
Okay.
All right. It's the wrong date, but we'll put the recording tonight with, for some reason, the date didn't come up right, sorry. But it is streaming.
Okay. Jane, I guess you're up.
We're running a little over, so you have 4 minutes.
Thanks.
You're not having a budget meeting, so I have a couple of things to ask about. First of all, Mr. Diddy, thank you so much. It was informative. I did file a right to know, and it was denied, so I'm glad you came and gave us the information because it was some questions I had asked that I think the public needs to know. So when you're transparent financially and you let people know, we don't have a problem with the program. And I don't have a problem. I've already said to you many times, I support the police. I support the dogs. There's just other issues within the budget and things like that I'm going to bring up tonight. So just to let you know that, okay? Thank you. I do have some budget questions, but I wanted to start with first. We're going to go back to the EMS the building. We haven't discussed that yet tonight, and I just think that I'm going to say hello to it. So I would like to know, what is the cutoff date for the construction project that we stop discussing it and look at a different option for the building or whatever we're going to do with it? So far, we're in over $604,000 of the projected $8,004,605. So I just want to know, I know that we're still looking for some money to come in. I don't know where we're at with that, but I just want to know, when do we pull the plug on the project? Do we have a date? Do we stop discussing it?
I'll speak
Okay, please.
on just from my perspective.
Absolutely.
If the grant doesn't come through,
Okay.
I don't think we have a pull the plug date. I think we need this building. One way or another, we're going to get it done. If it takes next year. I mean, it might not be 100% necessary today, but 10 years from now, we're not going to be able to afford to do this building. It's going to, the price in 2 years has been up so much just because of COVID and whatnot. So we've never discussed it, but in my mind, we don't have a pull the plug date.
We don't have a pull the plug date. Okay.
Now, I'm not
so,
saying we're going to spend $20 million on this building, but if this grant doesn't come through, we're going to work to get another grant. We're going to keep working to try to make it work. Maybe it won't work, but we're not going to give up on it. That, from my perspective.
Okay. And if you don't get the $4 million, what are we going to do to get the $4 million? Have chicken barbecues? I honestly, how do you think we're going to come up with it? Or raise the taxes? And if we raise the taxes, what are we looking at for our citizens in this township that are paying? What is going to be the implication? How much are we going to pay this? How much? That's what I'm thinking.
I stand behind, we're going to get a grant to do this building. We're not going to just come up with $8 million of township money.
Okay. Because we already took a loan for $4 million. Right. We had to get that. I know that. We had to get the money to get that money.
Yeah.
So we already have that we're sitting on. We're missing $4 million, which is the big piece of the project, the puzzle to come in. So I just wanted to know what your feelings are on this,
I pay taxes on a lot of properties in this township, and I don't want to raise the taxes on myself.
Okay.
I didn't take this job because I needed to feel good about myself doing this. I have a genuine concern for the township and the residents. I've lived here pretty much all my life. Raising taxes is going to be the last. We're going to hold off on raising taxes as long as possible. And I'm not just talking about the building. I'm talking in general. I don't want to associate raising taxes with the building, and so that gets misconstrued that that's what I'm talking about.
Okay. Well, my thing is also, we went from one square footage to another because we needed more things. Could we look back and say, what could we cut in this building at this point? Well, that's an option. If I couldn't build a house because it was over my budget, I would say, well, what can I afford? What can I do? Did you ascertain that?
That's certainly something we will entertain if we get. We're trying to get $4 million. If we get lucky and get $2 million, then yeah, we'll have to go back and we'll have a conversation. Definitely, we'll have to cut things.
Okay.
When we find out whether we get 4 or don't get 4, we'll go from there, like what we're going to do.
Okay. I just want to make that clear, and I'm glad you have that on record now, so we can go back when we need. So it brings me to, I will.
You don't have to worry about holding me to anything. I've never.
He's a
went
man of
back
his
on my
word. He is a man of
anything.
his word. I believe him. So he is a man of his word. I just looked up some things on the PA State Association of the Township Supervisors, okay? Because I'm just inquiring about what the duties are and stuff. And it says the township residents elect a supervisor to carry out the day-to-day responsibilities of improving their community. Township supervisors reflect the values of the people they serve. By design, the structure of the township government is flexible. It allows supervisors to determine what services best meets the needs of their constituents. The Board of Supervisors is directly accessible to residents with no layer of bureaucracy in between. Increasing tight budgets, supervisors must know what works best for the communities and taking the initiative and working within the departments. As you look for the ways to improve services and reduce cost, you are elected to financially be responsible to the township. Jane quoted in her budget, her meeting for the budget, because I was watching from home, so I could not be here either. I had a major issue at home that I was dealing with. She said, quote, "The expenses are exceeding the revenue." To me, that's a red flag. That means we go back and relook at the budget. Take each department in. Did you do this as supervisors? Take each department in and say, listen, this is what we have to work with. You know, this is within your budget. This is what we have. So give them line item by line item, you know, and say, this is what you have to cut. What can you cut on your budget? Before we propose and adopt a budget, I think that we should ascertain that and say, entertain that idea and say, what can you cut? And I'm thinking maybe we can become in budget if we went back and cut. And it's like a giant Christmas wish list. You know, when you're a kid, you always give that list and you hope you get everything on it. But I don't know, according to my parents, I didn't get probably 1 or 2 items off that list. But I know it's not their wish list, but I'm just saying that to reflect that we need to keep it in check. And I think that you need to do that with each department and give them, go back down item and see what they can cut. And I think you can come back to the board, to the public and say, you know what, we did bring it within budget and we cut some things. You know, so that's what I would like you to do. That's my thought about it. I had questions on the budgets. Connie had hit a couple of the things, but I have a couple too that go over, and I know we're getting lengthy here, so I'd rather not waste everybody's time and go over it, but I want questions answered also.
You're not wasting time.
Okay. On special police service, can you just tell me what that is? Yes. It's under public safety fees, special police services. It's $154,290. That's income coming in? Okay. Okay, it doesn't show me how, I don't know how you would see that that's income coming in. Let me look here. General fund, license and permits, and then it goes down to government revenue, public safety fees. So that's all under revenue coming in. Okay, all that whole page. Okay. Well, that was simple. Okay. When you look, there's revenue coming in, but what's the sale of the property? Receipts of sale of property, is that? Yes, it is. So that's what that is.
No, wait, and that's, because let me miss a bit, that was the anticipated, about on average what we see the park to be anywhere from, $7,000 to $15,000, the average bid.
Okay. That's clear. Okay. Now I'm looking at your administrative expenses, and it says office supplies. Okay, I'm looking down here. Hold on, let me get back here to the page. We have $15,000 for office supplies for the police department, and the township has $4,500. Can you tell me why there's such a big difference between what are you purchasing for $15,000 versus the township for office supplies? And then we have operating supplies, which is another $10,000 difference too between the township and you. So I don't know if you can clarify what operating supplies are for me and office supplies. Either one.
Well, 410-210, which is office supplies, that covers our copier contract, that covers all the paper, it covers all the materials that we need to build a case file, envelopes, manila envelopes, it covers staples, all kinds of stuff when it comes to that.
For the office supplies?
For office supplies.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And it encompasses other things. It all depends on what is actually needed. If they need a mouse for the computer, it could fall underneath office supplies. If they need a new the officers need notepads, pens, paper, you name it, that's office supplies.
Okay. So then what are your operating supplies? What is that?
That could be flares, batteries, range supplies. It's scheduling software for our scheduling, like every officer, is work Monday through Friday, Tuesday through Thursday, 6 to 2. That comes underneath operating supplies.
Okay.
Because if I would put all those things underneath one item, my IT or whatever subscription services would be through the roof. We would be sitting here talking, but why is your IT and your subscription services at $100,000? So
Okay.
you kind of spread them apart. So that could be flares, like I said, anything that has to do with operating a police department. It
Okay.
could be 3-ring binders. If we have a large case, like a homicide, and we need to buy 4 or 5 3-ring binders, could go underneath office supplies.
Okay.
It's a wide variety of things.
All right, I just wanted to clarify what them items are, because, I mean, you have a really big budget on it compared to the township. That's what I was like, oh.
He
oh,
has,
I know-
he has 18 people working for him, and we have 3 people in the township building.
I
Okay,
actually,
okay, Dave.
I actually have 20, and quite honestly, underneath there, the operating supplies do. Maybe you're not aware, but typically we provide flares. If the supervisors aren't aware of this, to the fire departments as well, out of that budget, so they don't have to pay for them.
Oh, out of your operating supplies.
Correct.
Okay, all right, well, that's good. All right, the uniform maintenance and line item clothing and uniforms. That's
Uniform-
$25,800 for
Uniform
that.
maintenance is what the officers' uniforms need to be cleaned, and that's
Okay.
contractual. Each officer is allowed to have X amount of dollars. What is it, $600? No, up to $600 a year to have their uniforms laundered,
Uh-huh,
actually dry cleaned. So that's what that is. It's contractual. I can't decrease that amount because contractually that's what they're allowed to get.
Okay.
However, I would tell you, if you look at the current budget, what was spent so far this year, we're way underneath that.
okay.
But I cannot
You
decrease
can't
that
take it from
amount.
them. Okay, got it. I just need to know that. Minor equipment, what is that item?
Minor equipment is just like I explained earlier when she asked about the vehicles. I do have $125,000 in there for the vehicles. However, if something would raise its price since the quote that I have, the remaining stuff could come out of minor equipment. It could also come out of, minor equipment could come out of, we have in-car video cameras, right? MVRs, we have body cameras. Something like that breaks, a body camera's $1,100. An in-car camera is $8,000. Our in-car cameras right now are currently 7 to 8 years old. They're starting to defeat on themselves. So that would eat that up very, very fast if we have to buy an in-car camera system. I do have 2 specifically budgeted for, actually 1.5, so the other half would be made up from there.
Steve,
It
does that
could
cover your
also be.
plate reader too?
What's that?
Does that cover your plate reader?
Minor equipment covers anything. Boots. It could cover boots. It could cover anything that doesn't fall underneath a uniform or clothing. It could be, new light bulbs for the speed board, or what if something breaks there. It could be anything that potentially is flashlights.
Okay. Okay, salary. I'm going down to clerical. That one, a 12% raise to $10,000 difference. Are they getting that big of a raise?
Now, if you recall correctly, they got a 2% raise. If you recall
That's what I thought. It
correctly,
was 2% across the board.
It is.
right.
However, last year's budget was not budgeted for the raise that they actually got when it brought them into market value, if that's what you want to call them. So that's why the budget reflects a large increase this year, because the
So
secretary.
you added last year's to this year's budget? Is that what you're
No,
doing?
ma'am. I'm saying is last year's budget, they were budgeted for a 2% raise. However, those two individuals were making well below the market salary, which the board increased their salary, which did not reflect on this year's salary. However, will reflect on next year's salary with a 2% raise. Are you following me? Let's say one of the secretaries made.
Well, it's $83,500 for
Okay.
last year.
Let's say
Or
one of
for
the secretaries
2022.
made $18 an hour, and the market of hiring a new employee for the township is 20. It's not right to make that specific individual make $18 an hour, so the township brought them up to what the new employee was getting paid, which did not reflect in 2022's salary underneath that line item. So you take that new salary of now $20 an hour and you add 2% to make them in line with the rest of the township employees, that's where you get that big increase.
Okay. Yeah, it's a 12%, so that was what I wanted to know. Under special legal services, Jane, maybe you can answer this one. For actual through 9/30/2022, is it 50,343 for this year? It was budgeted for $5,000. That's a huge increase. And then I'm looking at, well, in the end here, it says 500%. Next year, they proposed 30,000. Is that like for legal services for something that happened within? Like, can you explain that big item?
Do you want Tony to answer that?
Okay, thanks.
You're up.
Well, thank you, Jane.
You're welcome.
It's actually, you're looking at the workshop budget, it's actually $56,000 right now in actuals this year. And primarily for this year, not to the dollar, but most of it has been cost for, if there's a grievance, it goes to arbitration, or if there's other issues that are personnel issues I can't really speak about, that we have to contact the labor attorney for advice or guidance or direction. So anytime we do that, if there's a call, they charge us.
The clock is
So-
running, right. Got it. Okay, interesting. We have audit fees under the budget for 180. Is that audited for, what are you auditing? Like your budget, or is that auditing
That is for
teams
what I.
or
no,
national
it's not-
write-out? What is it?
not-
What's the audit?
That audit fee is placed in there for my cut of whatever the township's audit fee is.
Oh, okay, that's line 410-360. Okay, so that's what you have to pay, a portion of the audit for the whole township.
I thought you said 180,000. I was like, that sounds like
No,
a
no,
lot.
no, 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 no. $180, $80.
That would be my
Your
portion.
Okay, I didn't know. Okay. Okay. Okay.
But they haven't had anything, in there. It's just more or less a placeholder in the event that something would come out relative to our police.
Thank you.
Yeah, repeat that something.
Okay. Your computer contracted services, for $36,000. That's what you're talking about, the computers in the vehicles? Is that what we're discussing, or what?
That would be our IT people.
Your IT people, I'm lost. Like you have IT additional,
Their IT costs are totally separate from us. We have no overlapping fees. Our IT people is specifically for us.
okay,
We have to be CJIN compliant, the township does not.
okay,
Okay? So we have to, not to saying that the township's IT individuals could not service ours. That is our fee for our IT professionals to take care of our computers
okay.
in the office.
In the office, okay. Okay, and then we're gonna come down to the cars, and I'm just gonna briefly say about this. I did file the right to know on that, and I got some of the vehicle information. I did not get the mileage. So I filed another one regarding, because you just said today about some of the miles are higher or lower. I did file that, so I'm waiting for that to see which,
Well, I will tell you that, I'm just going to let you know, and the attorney will speak to this. Fortunately, you can file a right to know on anything you want, any question that you want. However, the right to know law restricts the individuals that are providing that information to documents or reports that they have on hand, correct? So I don't have a document or report on hand that says what the mileage is. I would have to specifically walk out, check them, and create a report with the mileage and the engine hours on it. That's why you got the report in which I actually had. If in fact I create a report for you, I would have to create one report for everybody else. This is underneath the right to know law and the direction of our attorney. Am I correct, sir?
Okay, well then I would bring this back to the board. If you're going to replace vehicles, I would request that you would have the mileage of every vehicle in the fleet that you're paying for, and we're paying for as taxpayers. I believe that should be part of your duty,
Yeah, I
okay?
usually do if we do get rid of cars, Jane. I usually ask for the mileage and the hours off it.
Okay, that's, you know, when I get my car inspected, I have to have the mileages on it. So it's not that hard when that report, when that comes back in, well, this is what it was at this time. Not that hard to do. So, okay, I'm not done with that, but I'll come back to that another day with you. So with that being said, hold on, a couple other things. The fire hydrant service, we're going to go to that now, okay? Now, first, let's go to the safety director. That's under the fire protection, correct? That's a person separate that's getting paid that, correct? Like that's a gentleman that we hired. It's not a police officer, correct?
You're talking to him.
You're the safety director. So,
I think it got moved to a different line item.
You go and look under safety director. This past year was designated, what the original intention was just to do fire. They've encompassed more under the chief and the lieutenants as acting as safety director's responsibilities. So now they are listed as below under, let's see if I can find the page so I'm not, under public safety, which if you turn to the next page,
so that's out of this, that safety director is going to be
out of
crossed
here, and now they're just going to be considered under public safety, and they're under line item 419-150.
Okay,
Yeah,
that was.
their responsibilities changed, and it's going to be a broader, so that's why it got moved. It's not just fire.
Okay, so then that's when I'm looking at a public safety director is 11,000, general operating supply, wait, so that's 11,000, it was 9,000. And I did listen to the meeting, so I do refer to that meeting because it's a 22% increase, that their duties are more than what they had anticipated. So they bumped the salary up.
That, you want to,
Well, that's not, I'm sorry, I don't mean to step.
No, go for it.
That's not, that didn't happen yet. That's a request. A
Well,
board
it's
request.
proposed.
Yes. That, this is all proposed.
All right. So that was my other one. Then there's another line item for general operating supplies under there for $10,000. What is that?
I'll answer that.
And under
That
the
is
emergency
so we
management.
can buy supplies for Public Safety Department for like National Night Out. We're going to be needing some other things with the EMS and with the fire services that fall under the public safety directors, and also the EMA, not EMS, it's EMA, I'm sorry. It's emergency management.
Not the building.
Has nothing to do with the building. It has to do with our emergency management.
Well, I just think there's just a lot of general operating supplies if I'm looking at it. So,
We're hoping not to spend $10,000. We're hoping to spend maybe $100, but we want to be covered so that there is money in there so that you don't come up here and ask me why we're spending $6,000 when it wasn't budgeted.
well, my thing is maybe halfway, a 5,000 instead of a 10,000. That's just my thinking. That's how I would do it on my budget. The fire hydrant services fire tax. Let's go to that.
We don't have it anymore.
So, but it's on here. Is that bringing money in, or
Nope.
that's going to be out of there? 411,363.
okay, 411-363 is, we still have, although there's no hydrant tax anymore.
Right, correct.
Okay, there is no more hydrant taxes. The township, though, still has to pay out of the hydrant fund, to service the fire hydrant, to rent. I don't know what the word is. We have to pay a fee, monthly fee,
We have to pay a
lease
monthly fee for a fire hydrant.
for a fire hydrant. There's 97 that we pay to what was, it's now Viola, it was previously Suez. And there was 20-some, I can't think off the top, for PA American Water, and maybe 5 or 6 for.
So that's a
York
fee that
Water
we got to
Company.
pay every year.
No, we pay it monthly.
Oh, well, we pay that monthly?
No, well, it's an annual
No,
fee.
that's a
They
yearly.
give us 42
Okay, so every year,
42,000.
we pay that
Every
monthly
month-
to them.
Every month, I think these microphones are too
Yeah,
close to each
okay.
other. That's the problem. Every month, we pay a Suez, Veolia, PA American Water, and York Water Company.
Okay.
Every month.
All right, so we're not collecting the fire hydrant service
Correct.
tax anymore. So is that going to come out of, what fee is that going to come out of to pay that? Is that going to come out of?
That comes out of the hydrant, which was, I did, in the budget, was a separate sheet of paper.
Okay.
All that still rolls up under the general fund classification. Like, within the general fund, classification, we're probably managing 4 different kind of accounts. Fire tax, we're managing a hydrant tax, we're managing just a general fund. We have this money market savings account at M&T, and then.
I don't know how you're managing it, Jane. I'm looking at, the Genie Fund. We're looking at a lot of different things.
We do look at a lot of different things, but my point is, that hydrant tax, if you can go to that page, it says hydrant tax across the top. If you want me to
Okay.
come up, I can. There's no income coming in.
Oh, yeah, the hydrant tax on the top. Okay, hydrant tax, water systems, what do we do with this? That was one of my other questions, too. And the fire hydrant services, that was what I just asked you. So, okay. Is this the one you're talking
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, that's the one. There's no income coming in here except the interest on the remaining
Okay.
money. And we're gonna pay out this amount to the different water companies. And then in turn, then, this balance will begin to dwindle down. Right now, there's a significant.
So it's going to dwindle down because until we pay this every month, we're going to
Correct,
dwindle it down to that?
correct.
So
The
you're not
problem that we have there for '22, there was no hydrant tax. And of course, your money, this number has to roll forward then to the actual is. So there really was not 95,000 collected in '92. I mean, in 2022. So this balance is actually $95,000
Yeah.
less in the account. But for now, that's the way the numbers have to roll till '22s are done.
And Jane, that's why we got rid of the fire tax, we have plenty of money in the.
Yes.
hydrant
You've
tax.
probably had 20
We
years
have plenty of money
supply
in
of
there to pay for.
Oh, it's a significant amount of money in there. That's why I was like,
Well,
The
Jane,
only
to
thing-
be honest with you, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Jane.
Go
I was
ahead.
proposed to me when I started here and asked about that. I talk into this, but it's gonna talk.
yeah,
back
that's
at
all right.
me. When I started here, I asked Dave and everybody what the hydrant money was for, and we know it was restrictive. It can only be used towards hydrant. We did not have to pay to put hydrants in. Suez and them did their own hydrant projects, which is nice, but if that would have, we've had to expand the hydrants and/or repair the hydrants, that money clearly would have been chewed up immediately. for
And
that.
and
So-
Suez is the only one that does not charge us, or Viola or whatever. They're the only
Viola
one
now, I
that
thought it was.
they don't charge us to install hydrants.
Okay.
We only pay a monthly fee to them. Pennsylvania American Water and York Water charges us to install a fire hydrant.
Okay.
That expansion, that would chew that money up.
Okay, now the highway department. You have, I'm not letting y'all off. Legal services, you went from $1,000 to $6,000. That's a 500%. Did you anticipate? Oh, okay. Thank you. Okay. I'm going to go to the recreational budget now, the very, transfer to recreation budget.
Jane, can I
Chris-
ask you a question?
Yeah.
How many more items do
Oh,
you
just,
have?
just a couple more, just a couple more.
'Cause
You
it's-
didn't want a budget meeting, so I couldn't make it to the other one.
Remember, we had one. We had a
Well-
workshop.
But I couldn't discuss it, I couldn't come. I had a family issue I had to deal with.
Okay,
so-
but you said we don't want one. We had one.
We
May-
asked for another one, so.
Maybe you guys could get together with Tony and Jane some other time, because it's 20 of 8.
You said you're almost done?
One more, yeah. We'll just cut one down. The transfer to the fire tax, $75,000 proposed. Is that, go ahead.
That was approved to be done for '22, and we're going to be doing it in '23.
And what is that money for?
That was.
There was a grant we received. and we moved some of that
No,
money.
that was the money we got from the federal government. ARP money, I can't remember the name of it. It's ARP money that is going to be used in the fire tax fund.
There was some COVID.
But what
COVID
are we
money.
doing with the fire tax money, is what I'm saying? Is that the one that's going to be split to all the departments, the fire departments? Is that what you're
As
doing
of
with that?
right now, we have a strategic planning committee that has been getting together for the last
Right.
9 months, 6, 8 months, something like that. We're working on putting together a fire commission, and then at that point, we'll be able to sit down and determine what we're going to do with the fire tax money. just for your information, just to give you a round figure, a brand-new fire engine now is $850,000. That's a lot of chickens to flip. And so we're trying to.
Is
we're
that with the taxes of this year that you started charging everybody to implement? Is that going to the fire department, 100% going to the fire departments, or what is that
Once
for?
the strategic planning committee is finished,
It's
yes.
sitting there right now.
For
Okay.
right now, it's sitting there collecting what little interest you can collect, because you can't get very much interest.
No, it's been used for insurance. Pays some
And it pays the
insurances, too.
insurance.
Pays some insurances for the rock companies.
Okay. One other question for Mr. Diddy, not Dr. Diddy.
Dr. Diddy.
Dr. Diddy. Dr. Doolittle. No, when you talked about the dogs, insurance, do you have insurance on the dogs? No, yeah, on the dogs themselves. Like, I have canines, and I have insurance on my canines.
Are you talking about like medical insurance?
Yeah, that covers, when you said you had a specialty for the eye.
Right.
There is specialty insurance, like because I've experienced all this. There's regular insurance for the dogs, and then there's one for like specialty care. If you had to do that's not covered by your local vet and throwing it in. There is specialty care for that.
I'll put it to you this way. The township does not budget for or use any taxpayer money for any kind of interest or any kind of insurance for the canines. Therefore, our nonprofit organization foots the bill if there's an issue, as we did in the past. We receive routine veterinary care free of charge from a very gracious donor in the township. So it is, and I say this, knock on wood, it is rare that we run into a situation as we did this past year. But the team organization will continue to support those veterinary medical bills for specialty care. You can look at it as an insurance plan if you want. But no, we don't pay monthly, yearly for an insurance plan. And I would just say, I'm not sure what activities your dogs do for your insurance plan, but I would probably say these dogs are a little more active and high risk. So I would imagine
You think
that,
it would be too high, the cost?
I mean, I would imagine so. But
Okay.
what I am saying is, we didn't ever see a need for that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Insurance policy, right, they would have to be, right, okay. Well, I just offered that out as maybe a safety net also out of your program to buy the insurance for the dog, you know? I just had a dog with a major eye injury that was bitten by
Would you
another
like to
dog.
be one of our donors?
I already talked to you about it.
I know,
said
I know,
would
and I
support
know
you,
you're very
and-
supportive of
and
it.
I
I'm
will
just saying,
support you
what
in
I
any
think
way
I'm,
possible.
what I think I'm saying is, the objective of the team organization is to utilize the money that we have, and it fluctuates. You know, I put up there that we brought in, I don't know, $7,000, whatever, last year. That's not always like that, right? So we have to be able to consider each year what we can help the township out with. And, you know, luckily, I have no idea how much it would cost for those dogs at insurance, insurance-wise. But, you know, we'll continue to support them in the way that we can,
Okay,
with the
then.
funds that we have.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Just,
Is there any
before
more
you
public comment?
budget, you take in mind what we said. Thank you.
You'd made some valid points. I do appreciate, even though it was long, I do appreciate your comments.
Thank you.
All right. With all that being done, we're going to move on to the approval of minutes. I need a motion to approve the minutes from September the 27th, 2022 Board of Supervisors meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
I am looking for a second.
I'll second.
Any questions or concerns? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? I'm looking for a motion to approve the minutes from the October 12th, 2022 Budget Workshop meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve the budget workshop meeting from October 12th.
I'll second that motion.
Any questions or concerns? All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Okay, we're going to move on to land development and subdivision plan review. Bill? sorry we cost you so much money, but, okay,
Time and materials I am, so.
there you go.
Good evening. My name is Tim Malott with Malott Engineering. Thank you for your time this evening. The plan before you this evening is the final phase of Lexington Estates, single-family detached residential community located at the southeast intersection of York Haven Road and Long Lane, served by public sewer, public water, consistent with the preliminary plan. This was a plan back in 2008. It was conditionally approved by the board in 2009, and it was slow go for a while, and they're finally having success, so they're about to wrap up the community with this last phase, and happy to answer any questions you might have.
You have my memo from September 27th. As you mentioned, the waivers were previously acted upon. Really, we're just down to, I've been working with Tim on this, and there's not much left. We're working through some of the administrative items at this point. So.
And again, this subdivision was approved a while back. This is just the next phase of that.
Final phase.
Final phase.
Yep.
Is it from across the street? Or
No, this is still in the same development.
same spot? Okay.
Mhm. Okay, I'm looking for a motion to approve the final plan with the engineer's comments.
I'll make a motion that we accept the final plan, approve the final plan with the engineer's notes.
I'll second it.
Okay, any more questions or concerns on that? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you for your time tonight.
Yes, thanks.
Thank you.
The Fry Sipe final subdivision.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Condon stopped in. He had a medical emergency, so he could not be here. So I would believe it's up to the board and the engineer if you wanted to move forward without him, or if you wanted to table it.
This is pretty simple, isn't it?
Yeah, you have my memo from September 26th. Basically, there's no new lots being created by this subdivision. All he's doing is rearranging lot lines, because there was issues with buildings on other properties and things like that. So there was 3 different properties, and they were moving property lines to take care of that issue.
This is the one we just discussed not too long ago at the Planning Commission.
Correct, yeah.
And what it is they found out the corner of a guy's house is on somebody's yard. So they're just trying to get the lines straightened out and moved around.
Yeah, there's no new building lots.
No new building lots. It's just moving some lines around, just a little bit more information. So I'm looking for a motion to approve the Fry and Sipe final subdivision plan
And that would be with conditions as well.
with conditions from the engineer.
I'll make a motion to approve Fry and Sipe final subdivision with Bill's comments.
Okay. I'm looking for a second on that.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, any more questions or concerns on that?
I had one, sir.
Yeah.
Bill says that the applicant's requesting a waiver. Did we approve that waiver?
You're correct. There is one waiver for the site context map that you need to act on as well.
Okay, well then, we'll hold that motion for now. I need a motion on the waiver. That they don't have to do a site-
Provide a site context map, section 344-220A, section 1, applicant requesting a waiver to that section.
Yeah, basically what that is, it shows the surrounding area in relation to the property. For a lot of these smaller subdivision plans, the waiver gets asked a lot. Normally on larger plans like Hoffman Townhomes or the plan that you just approved, they provide that. But on these smaller plans, it's not really necessary, and I'm okay with the waiver.
Okay, I'm looking for a motion for this waiver.
Make a motion, we approve the waiver for section 344-20A.
I'll second the
Looking
motion.
for a second?
I'll second it.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear him. Any more questions or concerns on that?
I just, one question, are the lots all conforming now, or were they conforming before, or they're?
Well, they weren't conforming before, and they're as conforming as they can be now.
So they're better than
Better than they were, yeah.
Any more questions or concerns on that? Okay, all in favor of the waiver signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, now we'll go back to the other motion. I believe it was Diane made the motion to, okay, approve the final subdivision plan for the Fry subdivision. I need a second for, or we have a second. No more questions or concerns on that motion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, now we're going to move on to reports. Chief, you're up again.
I'll try to keep it brief.
Okay.
All right, for the police department, for the month of September, we handled 1,029 calls. Out of those calls, we had 3 thefts, 2 motor vehicle thefts, 4 drug offenses, 5 DUIs, 3 simple assaults, 4 domestic-related harassments, 5 other harassments, and 21 all-other offenses. They also investigated 982 other calls, including 14 domestic-related incidents, 14 traffic accidents. They issued 66 traffic citations, 138 warnings, 7 non-traffic citations, and made 17 misdemeanor and/or felony arrests. The only thing that I want to remind people is next Monday, I believe, is Halloween. It's the busiest night in the township. There's no other day in the year where you have so much foot traffic and so many people walking around throughout the communities. I just asked and urged residents to make sure that they clear their path to their door so that trick-or-treaters can get up there and make sure they put their porch lights on and turn on any exterior lights to assist them so people don't trip and fall. If they see anything that's suspicious, please call 911 immediately. The old adage, you see something, say something. And for the motorists, I ask that you slow down, especially through residential neighborhoods. Children are really excited to be out there on Halloween wearing their Halloween costume of their favorite character, whatever. They act in unparticular ways where you might see them walking parallel to your vehicle. They might dart out in the middle of traffic because they see a new house that they didn't see with a light on. Just ask that you take extra time, look for the kids at the intersections and on the medians and curves. Enter driveways very slow and exit your driveways very slowly as well and carefully. That's all I have as far as the police department. For the public safety report, the fire departments are having their normal bingos on the nights that they're supposed to, which they didn't list here. Oh, yes. October 28th, bingo at Newbury Township Fire Department, and November 11th, Newbury Township Fire Department. Both start at 7 p.m. That's all I have. Do you have any questions for me? I colored in copier. And
It was all big blur last time.
yeah, sometimes the copier does that if I don't hit color versus auto.
Yeah.
Anybody got any questions for Steve? Okay, we're going to move on. Thank you, Steve. Mr. Solicitor, do you have anything to add?
Nothing to add, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Bill, do you have anything to add to the engineer's report?
I have nothing to add.
Thank you. Scott?
I have nothing to add.
Is there anything for zoning, Tony?
Nothing to add to his report.
Okay. Brent, anything under, sir? Tony, anything under the manager?
Nothing, sir.
Jane, anything under the treasurer report? Supervisors, Claire?
Good.
Rob?
No.
Maxine? Diane?
We are going to be continuing our fire department commission, and stay tuned for what that might look like.
Bill, one question for you. Anything with York County on the lot over here?
Yeah, so it was resubmitted, and they have a list that they put out weekly Right now, we're about halfway through that list, so they're turning things around in about a month. So I'm expecting beginning of November to hear something from them.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, also under supervisors, I talked with friend Chandra from the water company in last year and this year our hydrants. I submitted a list for 28 hydrants. In the process of that, they put in 29 hydrants all through the area across from the townhouses, that development back in there off of Vista Drive and stuff, and down through the Valley Green development, Jane, 245, between 245 and number 5 Locust, they're installing a hydrant there. And they're looking at Eden Road to see if there's enough pressure. They don't know if there's enough pressure to install a hydrant on Eden.
Yes.
Okay? So, that's all I have. Is there any questions for me?
You talk about the Eden. There's one on the top of Hemlock,
Yes.
but there's nothing coming down.
It's coming down. They're putting one at the property line at 5, now I can't think of the name of the street. 5 Locust and 245 Hemlock. Next door. Yes. And they're right next to you. It'll be between the house on the corner and that house, because there's walls and there's other issues that they can't install a hydrant down along any further down there. And that fits within the guidelines of our ordinance within 800 feet. And they don't know if there's enough pressure to do anything on Eden Drive for putting a hydrant there. If they can install one, they'll get back to us. That's public water. Right. Okay, moving on to old business. Under old business, West Shore recreation discussion. Okay, the
Jay?
annual fee for the West Shore recreation would be $47,016.
We had publicized on our website 45.8.
This is,
I'm just sharing that. And Jane, can you tell us, we have a budget in our recreation of 255. Can you share with us, does that have to stay in that recreation? We can't use that money for anything else. It has to stay in recreation. We can't shift it over to the general fund.
No, if you were doing recreation, the money in recreation is appropriated for recreation.
Okay. And where did we get that money from? How was that?
The funds that sit within the recreation fund right now, I believe in the past, were also.
that's a fee that's added on to, it's a fee that's added on new construction.
Correct.
There's a fee
Developments.
that's added to like a new house or something. I don't know the
Developments,
formula anymore. but-
projects, things like that. So it would be big projects, like you would have collected a recreation fee for Goodman. You would have collected a recreation fee for, the developments that have gone in. So there's proposed recreation fees that we have for new projects that could be started in the township this year. And so that's how the revenue comes into to that.
Thank you.
So.
I have received and I shared with all the supervisors about 50-plus emails we received with wishing us to rejoin, primarily a lot for their children to go to swimming classes, et cetera, doing different things. I'm strongly encouraging that we rejoin. It's a great program. They do a lot for STEM and STEAM for children education. And I just think it's a part of us that we should give back.
Okay, we're gonna need a motion on that.
I'll make a motion that we rejoin the West Shore Rec Commission. Do you have something to say?
Gary Hatter, 55 Dubbers Drive, Township President. I have a question. What kind of savings do you get from being a member? Does each resident get? Because I know a couple things were like $12 or $15.
Yeah, and we have someone here from the rec center. He can speak on that. But primarily, it's probably about 20% per class, not per resident, per class. So if you have 3 children, and you want to take 3 or 4 classes, it adds up. It does.
And, okay, I can respect that. What is the cost to join? $40,000 or $50,000?
47.
Well, it's $3 per capita, and I think our last,
15,672 is the census, times $3 is $47,016.
and we have it in our recreation budget. That money's just sitting there.
So it can come out of just that budget? Yeah. Thank you. Have a great night.
Please, come up to the podium. Okay, thank you.
I need you to come up to the mic and identify yourself for the record.
30% per class, not per resident or per child, 30% per class.
Good evening. My name is John Manito, and I'm president of the West Shore Rec, and I appreciate the time and the discussion we've had at the last couple of meetings, and I'm glad you're bringing it up tonight. But to correct, it is 30% per class, and it is per capita, $3 per capita, and I'm not sure what your 2020 census is. I know your 2010 census was, I think, 15,900 something. I think the 2020, I think it's 17,000. So you take $3 times that, and that's how you come up with the number of 47,000. So, I mean, it's a great program. The West Shore Rec has been going on 55 years. I've been involved for over 30 years, and it's a tremendous program. I mean, the brochure comes out twice a year, and it has all activities for every age, right? Diane has a copy of it right there, and it's I have a copy here, has programs for all ages from January to December, and different facilities and what have you. And 55 years, we have 6 municipalities that are currently in it right now, and hopefully we'll have the 7th one here, because Newberry was involved with it years ago, and hopefully we'll consider it, and we would appreciate very much if you did, and we'll move forward and go from there. But I want to thank you for your time. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to try to answer them for you, but hopefully we'll talk in the future and be on the positive side. But yes, ma'am.
I have a question. Do you have paid staff for that?
We have 4, God bless these, we have 4 staff members. Eric and Todd Miller, who do they're the administrators, they're the program directors, and we have two ladies, one's part-time. And that's the only staff that we have that are on salary. The 2 gentlemen are on salary, the 2 ladies are hourly rates. And we have volunteers, and we have instructors that we have to pay, obviously, for instructors, and it's tough getting instructors, and we had to increase our hourly pay for instructors because it's tough getting instructors to do all the activities that are going out throughout the year in all ages and what have you. But I mean, God bless that we have, because without those 4, I mean, the machine works, and they're behind the scenes, and as you can see by the brochure, they put all these programs together, and they do a tremendous job for what they do. And yeah, it's only 4 people, so and they're located at the West Shore Recreation at the West Shore School District. That's where the offices is, and that's where we have our meetings once a month. So, yes, sir. Well, your highest rate that I recall was like about 900. Now this is going back like 6 or 7 years. There was like 500, 600, 300. So it varies. So when it stopped, obviously the registration went down.
300 people out of 15,000 people.
Well, no, that was back in 2000, whatever it was. Yes, ma'am. But at the highest point was 900. So now with your population increasing and more people involved.
Oh, okay.
Oh, it's okay, I can move over.
I think she should stand in the hall.
I don't bite.
Yeah, really?
I don't bite.
I'll go out there and holler in. Okay.
I don't bite. I don't
No,
bite.
I'm curious how many people use it
All right, let me.
to make my next statement.
Let me find my notes here. Okay, let's see, that's not the right one. In 2010, I'll just tell you, your population in 2010 was 15,285.
Okay?
Okay. Your 2000 census was 14,000, so 2020 is probably going to be around 17,000. But let me see where
It is. The state has it on the website, 17 something.
Excuse me for a minute, I wasn't, I just had it here just a couple of seconds ago.
Well, my other statement is, and I'll just move on while you look for that.
Okay.
I mentioned at the last meeting that we talked about this, did the supervisors look at any other way of compensating the township residents, like paying the difference between what it would be for the township participation versus non-participation? I brought that up at the last meeting. Did anybody look into that and see? I mean, if you're talking about 900 people and you take the difference of those programs, it's, I'm sure, a lot less than $47,000.
Yes, we have discussed that.
And it went nowhere?
Well, I was gonna actually bring that up in the midst of this
We have to get through this
conversation, but
first motion that's on the floor.
I was gonna bring that up.
Well, in the motion, though, you need to say how much it's going to be for, or however.
Okay, here it is, right here. Newberry in 2011, 1,082. In 2013, 907. In 2012, 948. 2014, 562. 2019, 393. And 2021, 306.
It's quite a difference. It's a big difference for the amount of money that they're
Well,
asking us for.
Well, it all depends how you look at that. If you had new people moving in and people are looking for, when people move into a township or a borough, they're looking for activities for their children and what have you. And the West Shore Rec has been doing this over 55 years, and that's, the people look at the school districts, the playground, and what programs that are offered.
Well, I've used this since 2010 I've been here since, and I've used the rec program every year at the West Shore. What I'm saying is, I think there's a better way that we can do that than just writing out a check for $47,000.
We'd have to hire
Well, you don't
someone
write out-
just to do
no,
that.
No, let's correct that. It's over 3 installments that you don't have to pay the check out.
Okay, still, it's for the year, though.
For the year,
Yes,
but
$47,000 for the
it's
year.
the way it is, the payments are set up every
Right.
2 months or 3 months, whatever. But believe me, obviously I'm biased because I've been involved with it.
Well, it's a
for over
great
30
program. Like I said, I've been
Yeah.
doing it since 2010,
Yeah.
and I totally agree. So I have paid both the in-township, because I
understand.
was in New Cumberland, and I've paid the out-of-township in
I know,
Edders.
I know.
So I've done it both, and I agree, it's an absolutely wonderful program, and I love the programs they offer.
Right.
I'm just saying, we're going into a deficit
It's
budget
not coming
here.
out of the general fund, it's coming out of the recreation
And we're allowed to do
fund.
that under the subdivision land development, because those are fees by the developers paid to put in parks and such in their developments. Are we allowed to take that money out and use it for that? I mean, it depends on what your saldo says. I don't know what your saldo says. Blanket recreation.
That's the supervisor's decision
Right,
there.
it is a decision.
That's,
I think previously we used, took it out of the general fund.
okay, yeah.
Right.
Right, but I'm-
It usually is. It doesn't usually come out of that developer's fund, because that's earmarked for things that happen in the developments. So that there's playgrounds and whatever in each of the developments. And it depends on the way your saldo's written, because I know I've had several that were not written, that you could take other things and pay for them out of.
Brian, do you have
I'm saying
something?
it's fine.
I need you to come up to the microphone.
Brian Rabine, 928 Pleasant Drive. My comment is a little bit like Jane had, or, I'm sorry, Connie had, I'm sorry. When were we last enrolled in this program?
about 8 years ago.
Okay, and 13. So my only concern is, and when I was a little guy, I mean, I used to use this program for wrestling and everything else, so it's a great program. I'm wondering if there isn't a way too that we could reimburse the citizens or the residents of the township to actually use it, with the rec board fully promoting that we have it. The new families coming in, I mean, they didn't know too, but $47,000 is a lot. Could we just reimburse people this year, possibly, and promote that, hey, we have this as an option for next year to maybe go full in and not go full in right away, seeing as how we even haven't been in it since 2013? The difference, because it's 30% they have to pay. No, reimburse the difference of what being enrolled in the program and not enrolled in the program, and see where it falls.
Yeah, the cost was the reason we opted out last time.
Right,
in
and so
2013.
now we're kind of opting, or possibly looking to opting back in, where maybe we can save the township some money, but yet the residents, we get the benefit at the same time. I know Diane you said 50-some emails, that's great. I'd like to see 500 emails, that'd be even better. But if we're not going to utilize it to its potential, maybe there's a reimbursement program, or even upon completion of the course, they get reimbursement, something like that, to just protects both parties.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, we're looking for a second for the motion that's on the floor to join West Shore Rec. Looking for a second to join the West Shore Rec. No second, the motion dies.
Discussion?
Now you can,
I mean, I do think it is a valuable organization. I appreciate what they do. And I think we should look at reimbursing the difference.
making that a
And
motion.
maybe the enrollment goes up this year or next year, and we can reevaluate this next year.
Maybe somebody has to put something together on what that looks like then. So we'll leave that.
Yeah, do that next meeting, have proposal or whatever we want to do, instead of just saying, yeah, we're going to pass it. Come up with a plan on how that's going to happen.
Yeah, well, I was just making
Yeah.
a comment. I mean, I think if they come in with a paid voucher, or paid what they paid, and
Upon completion, I agree with.
I don't know how you
Right.
monitor completion, but they don't get a certificate for completion.
Yeah, they don't get a certificate for going and playing volleyball. So, but, okay. Right. So, okay. All right, we're gonna move on to the next new business. And under new business, it's Suez. I'm looking for a motion for Suez/Viola bond release. The bond number is 3000803 in the amounts of $40,000, $50, and $3,000. Bill?
Yeah, so this is a bond that was established for a road cut permit for water lines that were put in. We were out and inspected the work that was completed, and at this point, we can release those bonds.
Okay, I'm looking for a motion to release those bonds.
I'll make a motion, we release the bonds.
Looking for a second.
No, second it.
Any more questions or comments on releasing the bonds? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Next on the agenda is Clo Animal Control Services contract. Tony, you want to take care of that?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we've used Clo Animal Control Services for many years, and they submit their, next year contracts at this time of the year. I just wanted to point out any of the differences. So they charge a one-time retention fee. Last year it was $425. This year it's $450. There's a service fee per hour. In 2022 it was $19.50. That's going up to $23. Service fee per mile was 80 cents. This year it's raised to 95 cents, and as long as gas stays under 3.85, if gas increases over that, we pay the difference. Calls received between 5 p.m. 7 a.m. per hour rate, It was $29.25 per officer per hour. It's $35.50 per hour per officer. Calls received on Sundays, $29.25 per officer per hour, are going up to $35.50. They have added a Wednesday decompression day that was not there last year, and that's $46 per personnel per officer. An RTO fee, that's a resident fee of $50, it remains at $50, and a late fee of 7%, penalty fee remains at 7% penalty fee.
Okay, I'm looking for a motion to approve
hang
that
on.
contract.
Oh, well, okay, vote up first, go ahead. I'll make a motion.
Looking for a second.
I'll second that motion.
Any questions or concerns on
Yeah.
that?
When these guys come out, does anybody get a fine on it for having a loose dog or anything that gets paid back to the township?
Well, they go to the SPCA and he takes, I believe that's where they take them, SPCA, and then,
Steve, is that something you guys do at all for a dog like that?
Animal control, sir.
Control. We just pull up a chair up here, yeah.
Yeah.
You want to pull a chair over here?
So what typically happens is if a resident finds a dog or there's a dog running loose, whatever the case is with the animal and cats, our officer will respond out, try to deal with the situation. However, we do not have the resource to transport that furry pet anyplace. So we call Miss Klug, who transports it to the SPCA. She also takes some workload off the officers for filing citations on some residents for some minor violations, which she has the power to do so. Depending what the situation is, we do still enforce the dog law and township ordinances, but she can enforce other type of things. Depends on the situation. But they do take some workload off of us by transporting the animals to the SPCA, following up with victims that were bitten by animals, making sure that the dog is quarantined or the animal is quarantined as per state law, and stuff that you contracted to do.
now if she finds a dog just running around and we call her, she tries to reunite, is my understanding, that animal with their owner.
She won't immediately take it there. She'll drive around the neighborhood trying to reunite the dog. She also, speaks with us to ask if we have any reports of the lost dog from someone that, reported to us. And then if not, what she does is she lets our agency know that she took that dog to the SPCA. So if a resident does call and says, I lost my dog, here's the description, we can direct that resident down there to retrieve the animal.
Thanks, Steve.
Good?
Okay, thank you. Connie? Okay. All right. Okay, we have a motion on the floor. Is there any more discussion on that? All in favor of this motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Next on the agenda is the bid results for the propane supplier. And Tony, you can let us know about that.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We put the propane price out for bid, and we received that on Monday. We sent it to as many propane companies as we know of and that we've done in the past. We received 3 bids. Suburban Propane, $2.25 per gallon. Mid-Atlantic Solutions Aero Energy, whom we have currently, $1.70 per gallon. And Central Penn Propane of Lancaster came in at $1.49.9. So the lowest bidder would be Central Penn Propane. So we actually, on a good budgetary note, will be paying less than we paid last year by 50 cents a gallon. Just need a motion to approve that.
We need a motion. I'm looking for a motion to approve the propane bid.
I'll make a motion
Any
that we
question?
approve this. The Central Penn propane bid
Uh,
of 1.49 a gallon.
Looking for a second?
I'll second it.
Any questions or comments?
The-
All,
Yeah, attorney. Is that price locked in for the year or what?
It's a yearly locked-in price, so we will get that price no matter what the fluctuation of the price is.
There's no delivery fee separate or anything?
That's included, everything's included.
Everything's included, that's,
No, that's it.
that's pretty good.
I have no idea how I got it cheaper this year than, I won't even say I got it. Somebody bid it cheaper, and I have no idea why.
so any more questions or discussions on that bid? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Next on the agenda is the Susquehanna Lions Club sign approval.
My name's Richard Brenner. I'm a representative of the Susquehanna Lions Club. We serve all of northeastern York County. We currently have about 60 members and we're one of the largest Lions clubs in Pennsylvania. Next year is our 90th year, and we're proposing a welcome to York, northeastern York County, a large permanent sign between Amiesville and Manchester along North George Street. We have permission from the landowner. We also have permission from East Manchester Township is where the big sign would be. It took us a little bit to get it through zoning there, but we did manage that. And the only reason I'm here, no money, nothing else, we would like written permission to put Newberry's Township name on our sign.
Oh, that'd be great.
And anybody that wants a copy of it, I have this is a rough draft. We didn't get the final quote yet, but it's welcome to northeastern York County, boroughs of Manchester, Mount Wolf, York Haven, and Township, so forth. So all we want is written permission, email, a letter,
Okay, I'm
saying
looking,
it's okay for us to use your name on this sign. We don't need any.
I'm looking for a motion to advertise on their sign for nothing.
Very nice for asking us, thank you.
I'll make a motion, we allow them to put our name on the sign.
Looking for a second to that motion.
I'll second it.
Any more questions or discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the ayes have it.
Mr. Brenner, I can send you an email tomorrow.
Yes, sir. Okay, next, we're gonna change this around a little bit. I'm looking for a motion to approve the disbursement of the fireman's relief money. In the past, we have done 50, 25, and 25. So I'm looking for a motion to distribute the fireman's relief money. Oh, maybe it's not on.
I've seen it on here somewhere.
It must be in your book, because it's,
I saw it.
it's fireman's relief distribution. 50% goes to Newberry Township Volunteer Fire Company, 25% goes to, huh? That's the relief money? Yeah, we have to approve that by the end of the month, so.
Yeah.
And 25% goes to Susquehanna Fire Company.
Not our agenda.
It's part of the budget, he said.
It's part of the budget thing here. Okay? That's why I said we're switching things around a little bit so we can get this approved. Okay. So do these guys?
There's newer ones up here. I think
Okay.
you guys have September's. They're up here on the table.
So, all right. So I'm looking for a motion to approve that disbursement of fireman's relief funds,
I'll make a motion that we approve the budget for the Fireman's Relief Fund.
the disbursement.
Disbursement.
Okay. I'm looking for a second on that.
I'll second it.
Questions or concerns? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Mr. Chairman, if I could, just to add to that's a 2022 disbursement, and the only reason you had to vote is really because we received more money than what was budgeted, because you don't know till you get it, and we don't get it till this time of year. So that's really a 2022 vote to disperse the money, because it was higher than what was in the budget approved already.
Okay, and now I'm looking for a motion to advertise the proposed budget.
I'll make a motion that we advertise the proposed budget.
Looking for a second to that motion.
I'll second it.
One thing to add to that, that'll be available on public inspection at the township office. Any questions, concerns? All in favor, signify by, yeah, Dave. I know. Did Jane kick you in the back of the head and wake you up or something, or what happened?
Hello, everybody. David Parsons, 200 Wine Hill Drive. No, it's a very interesting evening, a lot of give and take. I mean, asking questions I probably would ask, but anyway, what was I gonna ask? Oh, yeah, this is going to be on the website. Will you have the budget, the proposed budget on the website?
It's not on there until they approved it to advertise tonight, but we can put it there.
Okay, and what night will it be?
What do you mean, what night?
For the discussion, the next night, for discussing the budget.
I guess the November meeting.
We're going to advertise it to put it on.
Yeah,
ahead.
I'm sorry. We're voting tonight, the board voted, not we, voted to advertise a proposed budget.
Right.
So and then that's advertised in the York Dispatch that it is going to be here for public viewing.
Right.
And we can put it on the website. It's the same draft one that we had out here
Oh,
tonight.
okay, same as that one. Okay.
And tomorrow morning, when we open at 8, it'll be here physically to look at. And then, as Chairman mentioned, anytime up including December 13th meeting, before it's voted to adopt, there can be discussion, there can be changes
Okay.
made.
So it won't be a regular supervisor meeting then?
We've already had that.
Oh, okay, all right, I must have missed that. Okay. All right, okay. No, so,
We had one.
you had one, okay, all right, okay, thank you.
Yep.
Okay. Any more questions or concerns? All in favor of advertising the proposed budget, signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Me, no.
Okay. Next on the agenda is looking for a motion to approve ordinance 421, amending chapter 367-45 of the code for the parking fines. This is traffic violation ordinance 421 revision. It's 35 and 50, right, Steve?
No, it's $50.
Mr. Chairman, it was capped out at $50.
Okay, okay.
For-
All right.
and thanks to Chief Lutz for bringing that to our attention.
And the parking fine went up to 35.
Okay. Yeah, make your way up.
Hello. So the way that works is if a parking ticket is issued, they will issue the parking ticket, right? If that parking ticket is paid, it's $35. If the parking ticket is not paid within a certain amount of time, which is typically 5 days, then the officer has to take the said parking ticket, turn it into a traffic citation, which the maximum fine is $50.
Plus cost.
Plus cost underneath the state law. So the first block would be 50, and then all the other stuff. I can't answer that question because I don't remember what the fees are. Like, you got JCP fees, you have regular fees. It could be that, but the ordinance is not, they're saying $50 in fine, not in total cost. That's regulated by the state.
Okay, I remember for the meeting, it was $35, and if you didn't pay it in 3 days, and it was 100.
Right, but that would,
That was
that
a
would,
mistake on my part,
that would
and
violate
that's why
state
it's
law.
been changed for tonight.
The 35 and 50 and weeks, so
Yes.
it should be relatively.
So if you paid the 35, that's all you gotta pay is 35. If you don't get that done, it's 50 plus fees.
Right, it would go to a traffic citation,
Yeah.
and if you don't pay that, then,
5 days, you're verifying 5, but you said 3.
well, whatever the ordinance says. I think it's 3, 5.
And the
I
parking.
can't remember by heart what it is, but I will tell you that even
I thought it was
if,
5 days.
if someone comes in and they miss the deadline by a day or so, if the officer hasn't written a citation, most likely they're going to take the money. So if the officer's on days off and you came in on day 4 and you paid the money to the secretary, that officer's not going to see that until he comes back to work, which could be on day 5, day 6. So therefore, he would not write the citation. Whatever the ordinance says, 5 days, 10 days. What we have to understand is, underneath state law, the officers only have a certain time to convert that or the parking ticket to a traffic citation. If they exceed that amount of time, they can't file the citation. It's, again, against the law. I believe that is 30 days. So,
Right, it's just if you're voting on ordinance, we were talking about $35 and 50, and then you talked about 100, but now you said that you misquoted it.
Yes.
The number 3 days or 5 days, so it just, to make it clear.
Well, I believe the ticket will say that, correct? The
no,
ticket
no,
will
the
have that
ordinance,
information?
the ordinance will
Tony,
say
can you look that
exactly
up so we have
how many
an answer?
days they have to pay it. The tickets that are ordered typically says on the back, you have so many days to pay it.
Right, give them.
The $50 is exactly what it was before. The $50, if it, upon conviction, the sentence paid a fine not more than $50 in costs, did not change. It was mistakenly raised to 100 at the last meeting. That's why we're amending it this meeting. That fine did not change. That's what has been in the ordinance. It's the parking fine itself for the ticket.
From
that went up
5
From
to
$5 to $35. You got it.
Now, how many parking tickets do you give a year?
It's funny you asked that. I actually ran the report anticipating that question, and so far today, I believe, I'd have to go back and look at my documentation, but I believe it was 8, maybe 9. It was under 10.
And this ordinance costs how much to write?
Before they were writing for $5. So, okay. So, do we have a motion?
I think so.
Looking for the second?
I'll second the motion.
Any more discussion on this? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, we're down to G, Resolution 2022-21 for the PennDOT Multimodal Transportation Fund for a grant submission. Tony,
Yeah.
Scott, and Bill are working on this grant submission to try to get it in with Penn Strategies.
It's our new grant writer, and it's due November 14th, so we need to get the resolution as just one of the required exhibits that's required for almost every grant submission that we do. It just provides authorization for me to execute a grant submission. It's for transportation costs, and we're working on that project right now.
Looking for a motion?
I'll make a motion, we approve the resolution 2022-21.
Looking for a second.
I'll second that motion.
Any more questions or concerns? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Looking for a motion to pay the bills.
I'll make a motion, we pay the bills.
Looking for a second.
I'll second.
Any questions or concerns on paying the bills? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Looking for a motion for adjournment.
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
Looking for a second.
I'll second.
I was gonna say, we can let that die for a lack. We can sit here for another 2 hours.